It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, February 1st, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Mario Helwani inside our New York City studio. Great to be here with you for another episode of the show. I am so very excited about today's show. Wow. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to share with all of you. I am super excited. Super awesome excited. Of course, we're coming off UFC on Fox 19. Was it 19? Yeah, I think it was 19. Anyway, it was UFC on Fox in Newark, New Jersey. The big news, Anthony Johnson defeating Ryan Bader in very quick and impressive fashion. There's no doubt about it. He is the number one contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division. How about Ben Rothwell submitting Josh Barnett? I think a lot of people thought that, Ben Rothwell could win, maybe via decision, maybe via knockout. But submitting Josh Barnett the way he did with that go-go choke that's now the most talked about choke in MMA. His coach, Luis Claudio, tried it on me for literally a second and at maybe 5%, if I'm being generous. And it was incredibly uncomfortable. It felt like my Adam's apple was coming out of my throat. He hit Mitrione with that. He hit Josh Barnett with that. First time Josh Barnett has ever tapped due to submission. Could you imagine if he gets a title shot and can hit that on Fabricio Werdum? Who saw this coming at a Big Ben Rothwell? One of the great stories in MMA right now, and a great character as well. And then also Sage Northcutt losing to Bryan Barberena via arm triangle, a choke that wasn't really sunk in. Only the fifth time in UFC history that choke has been pulled off that way, where the guy applying the choke was either in half guard or full guard, not even side control. And that has now led to a lot of criticism thrown Sage's way. A lot of people celebrating his loss, a lot of people celebrating his demise, a lot of people laughing at not only him, but the UFC as well. I have many takes on this, of course, and we will get into that throughout today's show as well. This weekend, as you know by now, it's no longer UFC 196. It's UFC Fight Night 82, UFC Fight Night Vegas. It's no longer the heavyweight title on the line. It's Johnny Hendricks versus Stephen Thompson. This broke Tuesday of last week after Werdum, towards the end of our show, announced that he will be pulling out of the card this weekend. A mess for the UFC, but they have now moved the card from pay-per-view to free TV, cable TV, I should put it. That is FS1. Bellator had a show this weekend. There's a lot going on in the world of MMA, and we'll be breaking some news as well. Let's get into today's show at around 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be joined by Anthony Perosh, veteran Anthony Perosh. The Hippo himself will be joining us from Sydney, Australia, to discuss his recent announcement that he'll be walking away from the sport. He has decided to retire. Good for him. Nice little run in the UFC. Always enjoyed watching Anthony Perosh for some reason, and he's kind enough to join us at 3:05. At 2:45, we're going to talk to the aforementioned Sage Northcutt in his first interview since that loss to Bryan Barberena this past weekend. Appreciate him coming on. That shows a lot of maturity, in my opinion, by the 19-year-old Sage Northcutt. At 2:25, Scott Coker will come on to look back at Bellator 148. Paul Daly winning via knockout, some brutal knockouts on that card Friday night in Fresno, California. Also, we'll look ahead to Bellator 149. At 2:05, we're going to be joined by Benson Henderson, the former WEC and UFC lightweight champion. He was in the corner of one Bryan Barberena this past weekend. Also talk about what's next for him. Artem Lobov will stop by at 1:45 to preview his fight against Alex White this weekend in Las Vegas. That is UFC Fight Night 82. That fight airs on UFC Fight Pass. And 125, we're going to talk to Fabricio Werdum, the reigning and defending UFC heavyweight champion who, as I said, will not be fighting this weekend, unfortunately, due to a couple of injuries. Also, as always, we want to hear from you. At around 3:25, we'll take your questions and comments. Also, we'll look back at a classic interview in our Y'all Must Have Forgot Clip of the Week segment. And how about Roy Jones and the HBO boxing crew biting my style this weekend as Jean Pascal walked out to his eventual loss. But still very much a song that is in our conscious. So I hinted, I will say this without giving away too much. At some point in today's show, someone will be breaking major news on the show. So I do suggest you tune in throughout. We'll be hinting at this throughout the show. But again, I repeat, at some point in today's show, major news will be broken. I do suggest sticking around. For now, though, let's go to the Skype machine and welcome in our colleague Dave Meltzer of MMAfighting.com and, of course, the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Dave, thank you very much for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Ariel?
I'm
not really that great, but
yes.
I'm glad to be on the show.
I appreciate the time as always. Let's start. I think I know what you're referencing. Some very sad and unfortunate news just broke around an hour or so ago. My favorite pro wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Canadian hero, Canadian legend, announced via his Instagram that he has prostate cancer. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I basically know he had contacted me last night and told me he would be going public with it, and he would be having surgery this week to remove it, and that's pretty much all I know. Past what he has said, I know that his brother actually has prostate cancer as well. I think we learned that his older brother Smith, who we learned about that within the last 2 weeks. So it's a real tough time for the family, and he's a fighter. He went through a stroke and made a recovery far better than anyone ever expected he could, because that was a really nasty stroke that he had over a decade ago. So I just want to wish him the best of luck.
Yes, same here. As you mentioned, a fighter, 100%, a tough SOB, a throwback, if you will, one of those guys who you would wonder about, back then if MMA was around, would he have gone into that world? But most importantly, I do wish him the best, and that's a little bit, it's a bummer to start the day, and I hope this surgery goes well. Do they know, what stage it's at, how serious it is right now? Did he give you any of that information?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to try to actually find that out today.
Okay.
I didn't hear anything. I think it's fairly early. At least I hope it is.
Hopefully, yeah. Okay. So we wish him the best. I want to talk to you about this past weekend. I want to start actually with Sage Northcutt, because obviously he was a fascinating story up until this point, and then to see the reaction to his loss and to see how he lost. It's all very fascinating. I want to get your take on this, and in particular, the way people have reacted to it. Are you surprised by any of this, or did you expect once he lost that this was coming?
Well, after with Ronda Rousey,
yeah.
I think that this is just the nature of what we're going to have. Is there are going to be people who are pushed very hard in this business, and because of that, when they fall, there's going to be a gang up on them. I think we're going to get that. This is just an example of the future. And so, yeah, I wasn't surprised. I think that the nature of how the submission happened, because it was in a move that a lot of people wouldn't have thought, and it becomes a big question. It's like, what does this mean? We all know that eventually everybody loses in this sport, and at 19, it's not the end of the world, and it's not. It's just an early part of his career. He may rebound. He may be a trivia question in 5 years. Remember that guy?
Right.
We don't know, but I think that the quick tapping and the way it was portrayed on TV and the way a lot of the fighters portrayed it as well, it throws a big question, because to be a star in this sport, yeah, you have to have ability. That's going to take time to develop and all that. But if you're not willing to hang in when the going gets tough, that's not a good sign. Now, is this an isolated incident? Does he learn from it? It's so early in his career, but it was something. And again, one of the things too is from a fighter standpoint, and I think this is, there were a lot of fighters that resented what he made, and I never like to resent what people make, because it's not good for you anyway. And again, the onus on what you're getting paid is more on what if you're going to resent somebody, resent the owners of the company for offering him that, not him for getting it. But that's not how it works.
This, to me, was another reminder that there'll never be any kind of union in mixed martial arts, because if you compare it to another sport, let's say there's a guy who plays for the New York Knicks. His name is Kristaps Porzingis. He is 19 years old as well. When he was drafted number 4 by the New York Knicks, and a lot of people thought that was at the time too high, you didn't see the fellow draftees go to Twitter and say he doesn't deserve it. You didn't see people rooting for his demise. You don't see people, other players, I should say, saying, "Oh, look at him getting dunked on," and things like that. Fighters, for some reason, they're a jealous bunch at times, and it was interesting to see who was laughing at Sage and who was trying to stick up for him. The guys who are comfortable in their careers, the champions, the former champions, were saying, "Don't worry, kid, you'll be back." The guys who are sort of in the middle, who haven't quite figured out how to break through, who feel like they're being underpaid, who don't get pushed as much, were then saying, haha, in your face to the UFC and to him. And so I thought it was so interesting to see the fans, I get that, but to see fellow fighters, colleagues, jealous that he makes X amount. And it's really not all that much, but in our sport, I guess for an unproven 19-year-old, it's too much. That to me was the most bothersome part of it all. And so then I'll ask you about the UFC. I'll ask you about, in hindsight, and that's the fun game to play. In hindsight, was it too much too soon? Or was it, because, not that long ago, everyone was saying the UFC doesn't have enough stars. They don't know how to build stars. All the old guys are gone. And now here we are, with Conor Ronda. But it wasn't all that long ago that people were saying. So do you understand why they did it? Or do you think it was too much too soon to put this guy in his third fight in 4 months on Big Fox?
Okay, I think I don't think you've got to go with the opportunity brings you. I mean, a perfect example of him is yes, UFC pushed him, but at the same time, when fans saw him on the first show, there was an immediate reaction to him, and you've got to follow the fans, and in fact, be ahead of the fans. Him putting him on Fox wasn't a mistake. I would have done the exact same thing. You've got to do it when you have somebody that and again, like just with this one. After the show, there was more talk about Sage Northcutt after the show than there was about Rumble Johnson, who's
Absolutely.
now in line without a doubt
Yep.
for a light heavyweight championship fight. I mean, he is what everyone's talking about, and so the public was already there. No, I wouldn't say that. You would say that you would want to protect him and not throw him to the wolves. I was worried when they put him against Andrew Holbrook. I thought that was a mistake. I thought that, look, let's not get carried away here. Build him slowly, like a boxer, like a prospect.
Yeah.
Barberina, that was more of a surprise, and I don't think that they went in there. I don't think they went in there expecting that he would lose. He did, so that's what happened. But no, I'm putting him on Fox. No, not a mistake. I mean, what happened, but you've got to do that. You've got to try. If you don't try with new people, then you're not going to make new stars.
And perhaps the mistake was having him fight at 170. Maybe they should have tried to find someone at 155. And I always think a reclamation project, the guy making a comeback, it's just as interesting as a guy making a run. So I'm curious to see how he rebounds, what he does, how this affects him. I don't think it hurts the UFC. And again, it goes back to why I enjoy watching MMA more than, say, pro wrestling these days, the unpredictability. In the world of pro wrestling, Sage Northcutt would have never lost that fight, right? I mean, there's no way in heck. Just looking at their physiques, right? But that's what makes this fun.
Oh, yeah. It's a sport and everything. And the thing is with MMA, and we all know this, is one loss doesn't end a career or anything like this. And the thing is, he is a star. People are still talking about him. Now, again, my question more is like, what does this say about his future? Because skill-wise, like I said, he can improve. But if he doesn't have, if he's not good at getting out of bad situations, because every fighter's going to be in bad situations, he's not good at that. That's a question. That's something that, again, time will tell on him. But it's just part of the journey. I mean, and we don't know where it's going to be. He may never amount to anything other than, hey, remember that guy, Chris Horodecki? Remember when we had him? He was supposed to be the big young phenom, and he had a career, and he's around, but he never reached the level of stardom that people expected. And maybe Sage will be, a guy who learns from his mistakes, trains hard, comes back, and ends up as a star when he's 25, 26. And it's kind of like, this is just part of the journey. Who knows?
How do you feel about his age? Because I will admit, it feels a little different because he is so young. He's so innocent. He's so wide-eyed, so respectful. I mean, he doesn't say a bad thing about anyone. He calls everyone Mr. Or Mrs. Do you feel like it's wrong for us to say, the kid's 19, he doesn't deserve the same amount of hate as everyone else? Or if you're in the UFC, you're in the UFC and it's fair game?
You're a public figure, and this is part of the sport. I mean, it's not a question of deserve. It's like, it's what's going to happen whether we like it or not. So it's just like, when you're in the spotlight, your successes are going to be magnified and your failures are going to be magnified. And this was a failure, or a bump in the road, or whatever it is, and it's going to be magnified because of that push. And everyone is talking about him because of it. But it's not a good thing. But in the long run, if he comes back from it, it's not a bad thing either because you know, he's still talked about. People will still watch his fights. They're going to be curious as to what happens with him for a while. Now, if he loses several fights in a row, yeah, people will lose interest. But one loss, you know, it just opens up questions.
You mentioned Anthony Rumble Johnson. There's not really much more to add there. He's the #1 contender. That was a very impressive win. So I want to ask you about Ben Rothwell. To me, he was the star of the show. To submit Josh Barnett, especially in the way in which he did it, was nothing short of amazing. And now you have this logjam at heavyweight. The title was supposed to be defended this weekend. That was a mess. It's not happening. They promised Stipe the shot. Of course, Kane had the shot. He gets injured. Overeem's out there as a free agent. He'll probably try to negotiate for the shot as well. And I think Ben might have the most impressive streak of them all as far as the contenders are concerned. What do you do with him next?
They have there's no obvious direction because I don't know where you know, again, how quick is Kane going to recover? How quick is Werdum going to recover? Do you go? Kane's still the biggest name, but you know, now you've got Rothwell, you've got Overeem, and you've got Stipe, you know, who all have had big wins since Kane has last fought. So I mean, you could go with any of them. You know, it's like none of them are any to me are like stand out where it's like this is the one I'm going with. Because I mean, Stipe, you know, what do you say about his win over Arlovsky?
Sure.
Couldn't have been better. You know, Rothwell, the nature of that finish. I mean, yeah, what can you say about that? Spinning Josh Barnett, it's never been done. I was stunned watching that. I mean, it was just like, you know, usually I'm not blown away, but you know, that fight I could have seen gone either way. That wasn't an issue. Ben Rothwell winning that fight wouldn't have surprised me. If you had told me Ben Rothwell was going to win by submission, I would say like, you know, what, 1% chance, 0% chance. So that was, you know, I mean, it's a feather in his cap and they could go with him. You know, I don't know. I don't have a strong feel for any of the four, but whoever it is, I think that the other two, you know, two of the other three should fight each other. I mean, I could see Stipe against Ben Rothwell, and then maybe Kane against Werdum or Overeem against Werdum. You know, something like that. But I could see Rothwell getting the shot if that's what they pick. It's just it's a hard one, and yeah, it's a hard one.
See, I have a lot of respect for Kane, and my heart definitely goes out to him. He's had a tremendous amount of bad luck, but I feel like it's going to be a tough sell to put him right back in that title fight because you brought up the best point of them all. I mean, all those other guys have had really big wins since his last fight, which was a loss. And based on how the ticket sales were going for 196, the now former 196, I don't know. I just feel like it's tough. I feel like the best thing for him would be to get him in there, get a win to get his mojo back, his confidence back, build him up in front of the people, and then talk about a title shot. But to put him right back in there, I think that's the most obvious answer, no, of them all.
So you go with Rothwell and then you go with Stipe against Kane?
I'm inclined to go with Stipe only because he was promised it, but then you're stuck with Rothwell Kane, which we saw already at UFC 104. And I don't know
but that's a long time ago, too.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know. I really want to see Ben Rothwell fight for the belt just because he cracks me up. And also, now with the submissions against Werdum, it makes it really interesting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Every one of those, it's funny because every one of those heavyweight fights that are out there that we talked about or potential in there with all of those guys, they're all interesting fights. So, I mean, we've got like 3 or 4 good heavyweight fights and the whole thing's going to, you know, it'll clear out in time, but right now, yeah, it's some interesting decisions.
No one knows the pay-per-view business better than you, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on this week. Were you surprised when the UFC decided to take next weekend's show off pay-per-view and put it on FS1?
When they lost the main event, I mean, the precedent was set. I didn't see how they could keep it as a pay-per-view unless they could throw in a championship fight or a huge fight at the last minute. So, you know, there's a precedent. It didn't surprise me. Putting it on FS1 is interesting because they've never done that before. If you remember with John Jones in 151, it's like the whole thing was, you can't do that. You know, you couldn't do that, but they did. I think that one of the things that made this an easier decision is that they were not going to have I believe it was a May pay-per-view. Remember to get to 200, we were skipping a month.
Yeah.
So now what they can do is just go, hey, we're not going to lose a pay-per-view. Essentially, we're moving February to May.
Yeah.
And we're just adding a fight night. And so it's kind of smoother. But yeah, they'd never done it to switch it to a TV. And I like the idea that because again, this is going to happen in the future. Every couple of years or so, we're going to have a show where at the end a champion falls out and we don't have a championship match. And if it can be saved and switched to TV, look, we all win it. We all win. The fighters win. They're not having to miss a payday like happened at 151. And as fans, we get a show. And from a UFC standpoint, they're not losing a pay-per-view. They're just moving the date.
Okay, so in the interim, they are losing something because they were expecting some kind of pay-per-view revenue. Although I don't think this one would have done, gangbusters, because I think a lot of fans might wait for the new 196, the former 197. But ramifications-wise, like from a business perspective, we think it's so easy to mix and match. Like, how big of a deal is this? Let's say you're In Demand or DirecTV. They've already set aside that real estate for a pay-per-view on Saturday. Is that a major blow? Like, are those outlets, are they upset right now, or because you're getting another?
Everyone's going to be upset.
Yeah,
but it's circumstances beyond your control.
Okay.
They really couldn't have gone on with that show as a pay-per-view. It would have been, with Steve Thompson and Hendricks as the main event, it would have been the worst drawing pay-per-view they ever did. And I think that, again, everyone's probably upset over the sense that, hey, the cash infusion we were going to get in early February, we're all losing out on money. But this show wasn't going to do giant numbers, and they very well may put on a stronger show in May in its place, and probably will put on as strong a show. So, this business is, like I say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. In the end, everything is going to be okay. There's some money lost. It's the cost of doing business. Injuries happen in the sport, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate it happened late. It's weird that two guys dropped out within 2 days of each other, but that's part of the industry.
Given the way things are trending right now, their highest selling pay-per-view is UFC 100. Do you feel we're getting close? Do you feel like it's trending towards breaking at UFC 200? Do you feel, because with no Ronda,
it depends on the card.
Yeah,
with no Ronda, and it depends on Conor. Look, if Ronda Rousey was fighting Holly Holm, I would say that they would break the UFC 100 record. I was pretty sure of it, especially because they're going to load up the undercard. Without her, again, if Conor's not on the show, I don't even see how you do it, because without either of them, I don't care what card they put on, they may do very, very well, but they're not going to break the record. But if they have Conor and they have, say, like, again, if they put Weidman and Rockhold underneath, or whatever they're going to put on, if they get the heavyweight championship there, there's we got to see what the card is. I don't see it out of the realm of possibility, but losing Ronda from the show takes it from a guarantee, put it that way.
It sounds like they're going to put Weidman Rockhold in June, and they want to put CM Punk on that June card, which makes sense, I think, from their perspective, because everyone was probably going to skip 199 to save for 200. But if you have Punk there, I mean, there's an opening there for a lot of new fans. What would you do if you're the UFC? Do you put him on the biggest show ever? At least that's what they hope, 200, or do you use him to prop up that sister card that was probably going to be overshadowed?
I actually would have put him on 200. It's like the first or second match on the pay-per-view. Yeah, because I would want to try to draw, the outside audience in, especially with Ronda Rousey not on the show. Just someone that's going to get some curiosity for that big show, and then hopefully the magnitude of everything else and seeing Conor McGregor and everything will keep those people as fans, as opposed to propping up another show. Yeah, I would have gone with him on the bigger show.
Perhaps one of the more interesting storylines this weekend is the CM Punk sweepstakes. Mickey Gall is fighting Mike Jackson. Do you like the way that they're doing this, how they've been building to his debut?
Yeah. I mean, it puts something in a match that nobody, two guys that nobody knows at all, and it kind of gives meaning to the match. And there's a showcase. They put it on Fight Pass. I like it. I mean, I could see actually putting it on on FS1 with more eyeballs on it. But I mean, they're really gearing towards trying to build Fight Pass right now.
By the way, is that a Roman Reigns calendar in back of you over there?
It probably is. My son got me a WWE calendar. I said I need a calendar for this year, and they brought me a WWE calendar of all things.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
Great stuff as always, Dave. Appreciate it, and we'll be checking out the Wrestling Observer for an update, hopefully a good update in the days to come for our guy Bret Hart. Appreciate that very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Ariel. And I'm really curious what's going to happen the rest of your show.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that plug as well.
Got me now.
That is a good tease. There he is. Dave Meltzer stopping by of the Wrestling Observer newsletter and, of course, MMAfighting.com. So in a second, we are going to talk to Fabricio Werdum, the heavyweight champion of the UFC, who took some shots from a few corners of the world because less than 24 hours after it was announced, or around 24 hours after it was announced that Cain Velasquez would not be fighting at UFC 196, the now former UFC 196, it's very confusing, he announced to a group of media members via WhatsApp, which I love that he did it that way, that he unfortunately would not be able to fight. And some people were saying, well, you were too honest. And I think that's a crazy thing to say, especially if you're a media member. We want honesty. Honesty is the number one thing that we should want. Don't tell guys to lie. That's bad. Anyway, we'll get into that and a whole lot more right now. Fabricio Werdum joins us right now via the magic of Skype, once again, from his car. And what is this? Maximum Human Performance. Hey.
Thank you, man. How are you, man?
How are you, Fabricio? Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you coming on today.
No, man. Anytime, man. You know, you my good friend like a long time. Thank you for you, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I want to actually go in order here. Last Sunday, Dana White tweets that Stipe Miocic is going to fight you for the belt this weekend because Cain Velasquez had pulled out due to an injury. When did the UFC inform you of this news?
Yes, the UFC don't say nothing about this for me, but my manager, Ali, called me and I asked you, Werdum, Cain Velasquez have an injury and you fight versus Miocic. My manager asking to me.
Mm-hmm. And what did you say when you heard the news, when Ali told you the news?
My first reaction is, it's like, you know, this is number 3. You know, the first time versus Travis Brown, and after then Mark Hunt, and this is not number 3. But I understand Cain Velasquez, man. He have a surgery today, I think so. I have a surgery in his back. I think he recovered very fast. I hope so. And it's my first reaction is just call my coach, Rafael Cordeiro, my coach, Babalu, my team. You know, this is very important. And I have an injury in my foot, you know, but it pain a lot. I don't kick for 2 weeks, the right leg, because I have an injury in my foot. But I say, okay, I have a fight, man, no problem. I have a fight because all the time I have an injury. All the time I have a small injury or a big injury. But the last one versus Cain Velasquez, I have a big injury in my head, in my balance. I have it.
Wow.
Big injury. The last one, yes. I know. Sparring for 40 days. Nobody that know this because I don't say that this. You know, the last time when I fought versus Cain Velasquez, I have a big injury in my head, man. Almost, I canceled the fight because I have a big injury.
A concussion you suffered?
Yes, concussion in my ear, my head.
Wow.
And my ear. And I know sparring for 40 days, and almost Rafael say cancel the fight, but I say no, coach, I'm good, and then after then I'm good. I just sparred 1 week before the fight. Okay, no, this is okay. And I have an injury in my foot this time. I say no problem, it's okay, and I'll kick the right leg, it's okay. But the last Friday, I have a big injury in my back. It's like an old injury, you know. I have vertebra.
Vertebrae, yeah, vertebrae.
Vertebrae, yes. I have the injury, but the old one. But long time I don't have a problem for this. Long time I don't have a problem because my back is more strong. I say okay, no problem. But I feeling very bad, you know. And this is Friday. I try to train again Monday because I rest Sunday. Saturday, Sunday I rest, just a massage, you know, recover. Because I train a lot, man. I train a lot for this fight, and I train, but I'm not feeling good, man. I have a lot of pain in my back too, you know. Yeah, all the time I say in the interviews, I say it's very important. Your mind, 100%. Your body is same line. It's very important connection, you know. When I have the injury in my back, my body is not 100%. Like I feeling 70%, and then my mind it go down too. You know, my mind go like a 6%. I say, I don't have this balance. This is very important. You know, this is very important when you have everything is 100%. Because this level, you have a mini mistake. How say
Mistake?
You know, yes, when I have one thing wrong,
Yep.
is done.
Yep.
This is very dangerous, you know, man. This level is very high level. And I talk with you, Rafael, my brother, everybody. I say, man, I not feeling good, man. My mind and my body, I don't know. But and when I say the first time in interview, I say I fight versus Cain Velasquez, but no, Mio teach this is not true. I just said when I have an injury in my foot, I say this. You know, I have an injury, but when I have an injury in my back, I don't have a condition for fight nobody this time. You know, I don't feel good, man. You know, not just my body, but my mind go down too.
So you injured your back on Monday when you were training, right?
No, Friday.
Okay, and then you just didn't start. You didn't feel good, right? It just didn't get better.
Yes.
Do you need
but
surgery?
This I told you, it's not like a new injury.
Right.
No, this is old one because I have a problem in my vertebra. I have a problem there, but I don't have a problem this for a long time because my back is more strong now. But I feeling very bad, you know, because all the time I have a problem the right side. This my vertebra, this right side all the time. But this time is the left side. Yeah, I don't feel it good because my muscle go very very tight. I'm very like an old man. When I stop the training, I feeling like a very. I'm trying to stand up, very like a, you know, pain. It's so hard for breathe. I'm breathe very hard. I feeling very bad, man. I have everything. One day I have a 100% everything, but next day I don't have a nothing. You know, my confidence go down, my body go down too. I say, why am I fight like this level? You know, I fight for 18 years. 18 years I fight in jiu-jitsu, grappling, MMA, and I never have my life. I never cancel one fight. Never my life. That's this one.
Wow.
You know, because Cain Velasquez cancel force. I have a injury. I understand him, man. He have a surgery today. He have a surgery. You know, it's not like it's not like a joke. You just say, I mean, I have an injury. That's it. No, you go to the doctor. My doctor, Feather, talk with the UFC doctor, and you know, I have a MRI in my back. I have a problem in my back, man. My doctor say, Werdum, have a two option. It's very important physical therapy every day, or you have a more muscle in your back, or maybe you have a more injury that maybe surgery too.
Okay, but
I say no. I promise for you. I train more for my back. You know.
No surgery needed now, though, right?
No, I know. No, he say no,
Okay.
but maybe it happen again, maybe two more times, maybe have a big problem, maybe surgery. He say that. I say no, doctor. I promise for you. I go the physical therapy. I just go now the physical therapy now. No, just stop my car for talk with you.
Thank you.
Know?
Obrigado.
I have 11 o'clock. I have a physical therapy now, and I say no, doctor. I promise for you. I recover my back. I put more muscle there. I don't want a surgery, man. Your back is very dangerous surgery, you know.
So when the UFC called your manager Ali Abdelaziz to tell him about the news that Cain Velasquez was pulling out, why didn't you guys then tell the UFC, wait, before you announce this new fight, we're injured too. Let's see how this goes the next day or so. There's a chance this might not happen. Instead of announcing it and then you having to pull out and then everyone criticizing you, you know what I mean? Why not tell them before they announced the news on Sunday?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just carried the one Ali called me. He said I told you, hey, Cain Velasquez have an injury and he don't fight again. Might have a meal teach. I said the first time when he said that, I just called my coach. My first thing, you know, my coach Rafael Cordero. He said, okay, no problem, but this happened. I'm very excited for a fight. You know, I trained for 3 months for this, man. I spend a lot of money. I invest a lot of money for this. Not just a lot of money, but everything. You know, I'm waiting for this. And one day, okay, next day, you know, good. You know, it's like I feeling very bad injury. You know, because I told you, man, when I have an injury, I fight. You know, I have a fight because in the moment, you know, I like this. This is my life. I don't go inside the cage because I just like it's my job. No. I like when I'm enjoy. You know, just to watch my fights, man. I go inside the cage. I'm smile because I like this moment. This moment for me is the best moment. For me, is the hard part is I want you train every day. This is hard part. But when you go inside the cage, for me, this is I enjoy this a lot, man. I love this.
As you know, I have absolutely no problem with what you did. The decision to take the Miocic fight, I think you deserved more credit than you received, and have no problem with you pulling out of a heavyweight championship fight if you feel like you're not 100%. Yet some people were criticizing you. You know this. How was this past week for you? What was it frustrating that you couldn't, that you didn't, you feel like, well, what is going on? Why are people criticizing me? I'm a heavyweight champion. I've never pulled out. Why is this happening? Was it frustrating for you?
Yes, for sure, 100%, man. I'm staying with my family, my wife, my daughters in my home. I saw for sure because I love internet. I saw social medias. I saw the guys say a lot of things like a bad things. I say, why, man? The fans just stay with you when you're in the top. That's it.
Yeah.
Or when you don't go down, the guys. I have a lot of things like a good things too. A lot of guys say, Werdum, it's okay. He covered fast. But I saw a lot of things this. But I don't understand the guys say, man, you have a fear. You fear about the meal teach. I say fear, man. I fight 18 years. Fear. I just have a fear. When my mom, my mom would say something, I'm a very fear. I'm scared. When I'm scared,
right.
When my mom says something, but damn it, I fear about it. And the meal teach, I saw meal teach say something. Hey, Werdum, you don't know the Rio champion, blah, blah. I understand the Miocic too, man, because he won a promotion himself for fight for the title shot. It's normal, I say something for him in Twitter. I say for a lot of things for him, but not like a bad things.
Sure.
He say, the Rio champ. I say, man, I fight with you anytime, no problem. He say, okay. He say, I have a this week. I have a fire memory.
Yeah.
And you go inside, you go in the truck with me, and I give my belt for you. I say, okay, man. Okay, like fire belt is okay. It's good for me too.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that tweet.
It's okay, man. It's okay. But Ariel, I'm good now. Just I talk with you because I'm feeling good now. But hey, 1 week before, after that, this happened. I'm very sad, man. I know like me. I say why I'm sad because it's not my fault. I have an injury. That's it, man.
Right.
I never cancel never cancel one fight in my history. Never. 18 years, man. Never in my life. But just one thing. But it's good because I learn a lot for everything. For sure I have a more experience this because I saw when the fans go with you when in the top, and when you're bad or one decision, the guys say a lot of things, I just want to say for this guy say a lot of things, bad things. Just look yourself, how your life is okay, or have a good job, or what the guy happy is. I don't understand the guy say a lot of things, man. I don't understand the man. It's crazy, but it's okay, man.
Have you personally talked to the UFC? Like, are you guys on good terms now after all of this? Dana, Lorenzo, did anyone reach out to you to see how you're doing?
No, I don't talk with anybody because this part is Ali. My manager Ali did that. I don't say nothing. Just Ali talk with the guys. For sure, the guy is sad, man. This is normal. I work in UFC, man. I'm an ambassador, Latin American ambassador. I'm working TV. You know this. I'm a commentary. I'm a fighter. I'm staying in Mexico for 2 months. The fight versus first time versus Mark Hunt. It's okay. Maybe I say, hey, I don't want to fight versus Mark Hunt. I'm waiting for my Cain Velasquez. I say, no. It's very important. I think for the UFC too because this is a big event. It's the first event in Mexico. The first event. I say, no. This is very important. I'm waiting for this. 100% of my mind, my body. For sure, I'm fight versus Mark Hunt. No problem. But I think. This time I say, man, I don't fight this. It's big problem for UFC. I said, no. I'm a UFC guy. Okay, I fight, no problem. But this time I feel it is not good time for a fight.
So just to be clear, if Cain was still in the fight and you were feeling as bad as you were last Monday, you would have pulled out regardless, right?
No. I just the foot injury. I have 2 injuries.
Yep.
Okay, the foot injury. I fight versus Miocic and Cain Velasquez, anybody, no problem. Okay, I fight for sure. But when I feel in my back is hurt a lot. I feel it's bad injury. it's not. I feeling I don't fight. No, I don't have a fight. Maybe Cain Velasquez or Miocic is so hard. I don't have a good feeling for the fight when I have this injury. My back injury.
What's the foot
You know,
injury?
I just like when I try the kick, I kick like my foot like this, boom,
Ah,
and I have 2 weeks like a very bad. I think it's like a broken, but I have the how say
X-ray.
X-ray
Yeah.
X-ray. It's not broken, just like a little bit, not broken, but I don't say English, but it's not broken, but they have
A
a
fracture?
fracture, just a little bit, but you know, it's nothing. It's like a nothing, but uh, you don't you don't give a 100%. I don't kick for 2 weeks,
Wow.
and zero kick the right side. Just left side, but right nothing, zero.
So what are they telling you as far as when you could return, after you get better from these injuries? What are you looking
Yes,
at?
the doctor say I wanna go next week. I go there for a look. The doctor look me again, and I don't know when he say I'm good for start the train again because I don't train more.
Okay.
Zero training. I wanna train it because I'm waiting for this fight. But I just waiting for the doctor, the UFC doctor, and my doctor, Feder. The guys say, Werdum, you waiting for train again? I'm waiting for fight too because I'm waiting for, just like he covered my back and I'm waiting for fight. I don't fight for almost 1 year.
Yeah.
This is, I have a 38 years old now. I feeling good, but I want to fight, my plan in my mind, my mind, I have maybe 2 or 3 fight 2016
Ah,
in my mind, Now is maybe 2 fights,
right.
2 fights this year. Yes.
Okay, so and what do you want? Because now with Ben Rothwell looking good on Saturday, and Stipe was promised, and Kane's out there, and Overeem, what do you think happens next for you?
Hey man, I don't know. Cain Velasquez have a time for come back. Maybe he have a surgery today. I
Yeah.
think so today.
Yeah.
I think 1 month, maybe 1 or 2 months for recover, for start the train again.
Yeah.
It's so hard to fight against Cain Velasquez the next one. Maybe Miocic is waiting. He's there, and Ben is okay too. I don't know, man. It's not my decision. It's
Right.
like a UFC decision. I now have in my life two option. Everton, what fight you wanna? Never the guys asking me for me. Everton, you wanna this?
Yeah.
Everton, you fight this guy? I say okay, no problem. All the time, But I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
Who do you think deserves it the
Anybody.
most?
Man, I don't want to promotion the guys. Man.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't like it. It is other thing too. When Dos Santos, Junior Dos Santos, he talked too much about me before his fight over in.
Yeah.
Before he said a lot of things, Werdum is no real champion too, blah, blah, blah. He lost.
Right.
He lost the fight about knockout.
Yeah.
And Arlovsky say a lot of things too, Arlovsky, blah, 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 blah. And he lost too versus Miocic, And then George Barnett just lost too because he talked too much too, and I lost. Why? I learned this too much long time ago. I learned this before. The guys talk a lot about the belt for promotion, but the guys don't look at the next fight.
Yeah.
The next fight is very important. This is why I don't like this. Say, the guys asking me for me after Cain Velasquez, what do you want? I say, man, the first thing is this. I have this fight first. After then, I think after I win, I think the next one. This is very important, because I don't know. The fight is fight, man. Maybe you lose or you win. That's it. It's very hard. It's like a high level, man.
Last thing, were you impressed with being the jiu-jitsu master that you are? Were you impressed with Ben Rothwell's choke, go choke against Josh Barnett? That's impressive, right? Were you impressed?
Yes, it's okay. It's good, but I don't like his style, And he don't have a base. He's like he don't have a one base. He like maybe in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like his style,
Interesting.
But it's okay. It's very good choke for sure because Barnett is very tough guy too. Barnett, and the first time he tapped in the cage, it's for sure. It's good. It's very good guillotine because he heavy, and belt is like a very heavy guy, and I think he have a power, crazy power.
Amazing.
Like crazy guys have a crazy power too.
Yep.
I think this guy have a crazy power.
Very well said. Again, Fabricio, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. I hope you get well soon. Sad that you're not, able to fight this weekend, but 100% support your decision and think that you made the right call. So get well soon, and looking forward to seeing you fight sooner rather than later, my friend.
No, thank you for you, man. I appreciate, and I'm very. I like when I explain everything now. It's my first time I'm explaining.
Thank you.
My first time I just playing for, because maybe the guys don't understand. The guys, I say something wrong. Maybe I'm very emotional this time.
Yeah.
And the guys, why Werdum fight versus Ken Velasquez? No, me or teach him, man. I fight anybody, man. No problem. I'm wearing 100% of my mind and my body. It's okay, man. I'm fight. I love this. This is my job. That's it. Thank you for you, man.
Thank you, and good luck in your physical therapy. Appreciate you coming on to explain everything to us. Obrigado. There it is. Fabricio Werdum stopping by. Thank you very much to him for coming on to explain his situation. All right, in a minute, we're going to be joined by Artem Lobov. Let me just fix this. What did people tell me? Artem Lobov in... what's going on? Artem Lobov's going to join us in a matter of moments. He is in Las Vegas for the now former UFC 196, the new UFC Fight Night 82. He is fighting Alex White this Saturday night, and the Russian Hammer is on the magic of Skype right now. There he is. Artem, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Ariel?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for the time. So you got to Las Vegas a little early, right? You got there on Saturday or Saturday night?
Yeah, Saturday night. Yeah, we got here with John and been here since.
I guess that's because of the time difference, right? Usually people get there on Tuesday, but you wanted to get there a little early?
Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of thought get here, make myself at home, and it's all good. I don't mind Vegas. I've lived here half a year last year, so this is becoming like another home for us now.
So the last few times that you were there, of course, you were part of McGregor Mania. Now it's all about you. Does it feel different? Do you like the fact that you don't have to, because he's fighting in a month. Would you have preferred to be on the same card, or do you like that you could just focus on yourself here?
Yeah, well, the good thing now is that I can walk through the hotel, no problem. I mean, obviously, when he fights, the place is filled with crazy Irish fans running around everywhere, and, they're excited, and it's great to see. But obviously, when you're trying to cut weight, and every trip to check your weight is like, an hour of stopping and, hugging and all the drunk people, and, it's not the easiest thing to deal with. I mean, it's okay, you get on with it, but now it's just walk through, no problem, no one really here, So,
but do you prefer kind of peaking at the same time where you're on his card, or do you like that you're on a separate card?
I think it's better now that we're on a separate card, because I get to get my fight out of the way, and then I get to help him, 100% with his fight. I don't have to worry about my own weight cut. I don't have to worry about my own fight. I can just help him.
Of course, we last saw you tough finale in mid-December. Were you expecting to get a fight so soon, a month and a half later?
Soon. This is like forever for me.
Oh, okay.
I like to fight often. I'm not like those other guys in the UFC, that want to fight once or twice a year. I want to fight every week. In fact, when I was in the house, that was the best time of my life. 4 fights in 6 weeks. That's the way I'd love to have it. Train all week and then fight on a Saturday. So as soon as that fight was over, I was hassling the UFC for a fight. I was like, look, I'm ready to go now. I can, I'm healthy. I can go next week, the week after, whenever you have a fight. I wanna have a fight. So, yeah.
I really felt for you when everything was happening around 194, because obviously you were very disappointed about how the finale fight went against Ryan Hall. But then you had to put a smile on. You were obviously happy for Conor the next night as well. But you could see it's mixed emotions, because you had just suffered your own personal setback, yet you're happy for your friend and training partner. How difficult was that 24 hours for you?
To be honest, actually, the fact that Conor had a fight kind of helped me, because I was like, there's no time to, be upset or, sad, So I had a little quick cry in the shower, and that was it. I was back to being 100% ready to help Conor get that belt. So
Was the toughest part the fact that you felt like you never got to show anything in the fight? I mean, it was a very, it was a, we knew what kind of fight it could be given your style and his style, but it just felt like you were completely neutralized given his style, and that you couldn't really get going. Was that the toughest part? Like, would you have rather lost a complete war where you're bloody and all that stuff rather than a fight like that?
100%. That's exactly how I felt, Ariel. Like, I pride myself on having some of the most exciting fights ever. Any of the shows I ever fought, they always wanted to have me back because I always had the fight of the night performance. And in my head, I was imagining this memorable moment, Forrest Griffin moment, the Ultimate Fighter, and instead I got the most boring finale on the Ultimate Fighter ever. So that was very, very frustrating. But fair play to Ryan. I guess he did what he had to do, and I'm obviously sad that I didn't get to catch him with one of my bombs. But I have to give him his props.
And for the record, as I said on this show, I actually didn't think it was a boring fight. I mean, I always kind of found it interesting because I felt like you were one punch away from a knockout. He was one sort of maneuver away from a submission. So I like fights like that. I think I've seen many, many, many other more boring fights, including tough finale fights. But that's neither here nor there at this point. How is he with you guys? Is he going to come back to the team and train with you, or now that happened, is that no more?
There's no issue on our side. I mean, he's a nice guy. There's nothing bad you can say, about a guy, and he's got very good jiu-jitsu skill. I mean, he'd be more than welcome if he wanted to join. I'd have absolutely no problem with that. So, if he wants to join, he's more than welcome.
In a way, could that night have been even worse for you had you not trained with him for that short period of time in Ireland? Because it did feel like you knew what to expect to a degree. Yet, of course, I mean, he's just so dominant and it's hard to stop it. But did that help you not get finished by him, not get submitted?
No, I think what helped me not get submitted is that, I don't know if you know this, but I've never tapped in any of the fights. I've been choked out, I had my arm broken, but I just don't tap. So, my philosophy is you get out of there or else you get choked or, your leg broken. So I just keep fighting the submission until I'm out of it or until I'm unconscious. So
Right.
that was, that is always my mentality. So, I just kept fighting, and obviously I train in SBG, and we have a lot of good black belts there, so I know really well how to get out of a submission. So I got to show at least that part on the night.
How long did it take for you to get over the fight and start thinking about the next one?
Well, I wanted the next one straight away. You never really get over your loss. I mean, I remember every single loss I've had. And you obviously, you wish you could change something, but you can't. You just have to accept it. You just have to move on. But I never really fully get over the loss.
Okay, so you get
It's
Alex.
always there.
Right, and I'm assuming it gives you motivation and fuels you as well. So you're fighting Alex White. What did you know about him when they offered him to you?
Yeah, when they offered, I didn't know. I just said yes. I never. That's as far as my conversations with matchmakers go. They send me a name and I just say yes. It doesn't really matter to me. Just let me know when and where, and I'm gonna be there. So that was the same thing here. I just took the fight. I had a little look at him. Had a look at his record. Perfect. He's exactly the kind of guy that I don't like. The guy that I don't feel had much of a challenge in his career. Just padded record, got into the UFC, had a few fights there, didn't really, didn't manage to pass the challenge, and now he's here, So I feel that they probably want him out of the UFC, and that's why they're giving him to me. I feel that they probably felt sorry for me after the finale. They know that I can knock guys out. They've seen that on the Ultimate Fighter, so they probably thought, okay, let's give Artem a good one now. Let's give him one where he can show his true potential.
So it's interesting that you talk about his record because, as I'm sure you know, people look at your record and say, oh, 11-11. He's a 500 fighter. The only reason why he's in the UFC is because he's Conor's friend. Does that get annoying for you? I see you going at it with Twitter people sometimes and responding to the quote unquote trolls. Does this get annoying at all?
No, that was just like sometimes I reply if I'm really, really bored and I just want to have a bit of fun. I reply, but that doesn't bother me at all. Because let's be honest here, 99% of MMA fans haven't got a clue what's going on. They don't understand the game enough to comment on any of that. They don't know how easy it is to have an impressive record. I could have 10 guys in my gym tomorrow, beat them all up, and there's 10 wins for my record. It is that easy. It is that easy to become 10-0. What I did is very, very hard. Not many people do it. In fact, very, very few people do it. I can honestly say that if you look at people's outside of the UFC records, I have the most solid record in the UFC right now. That's a fact. I went out there looking for the challenges. When the phone rang so many times and they said to me, "Look, we have this guy that's really good. Nobody wants to fight him in Europe. Will Artem take him?" Every time I said yes. No one else wants to do it. It's easy now in the UFC. Everyone will fight for $50,000. If you go on the street now and you ask somebody, "Will you fight for $50,000?" Most people will say yes. But I done it when the money was zero and the challenge was hard because that is the way a warrior does it. If you want the challenge, you want to be a true fighter. That's how you do it. In fact, they should print out my record and call it the Fighter Bible, the Warrior Bible. And all those guys with pirated records should read it every day. And then they should post my pictures on their wall as I'm the Jesus Christ of MMA.
I like it. So you don't regret that path because you say you could have a 20-2 record right now or something like that. You don't regret not having.
No way. I would be ashamed to pad my record. Do you know how many times I was offered easy fights? A million times. Anytime I was offered, let's say, 3 or 4 fights at the same time, I find the hardest guy out of them, and that's the guy I take. I would never ever pad my record. Never in a million years. I have so much respect for myself, and I pride myself as a true fighter. I would never ever take an easy fight.
And then I'm also curious, speaking of the critics, when you get these comments about your stance and keeping your hands down, I know you get a lot of that as well, as does your coach, John Kavanagh. Well, how do you deal with that when you get these people who have never been in a fight trying to give you, the fighter, tips on how to fight?
Well, they don't understand fighting, that's fair enough, but surely they can understand maths. I hope so, at least. And if they look in my almost 30 real fights, I've never been knocked out. So surely I'm doing something right.
That is true. That is a great point as well. By the way, leading up to this fight, did the master sensei Ido Portal help you prepare, move any of that? I feel like that could be a big thing in your favor going into this one. Was he present at the camp?
Well, he was at the last camp. He
No.
wasn't really around this time, but
Oh.
he gave us some drills to do, and yeah, it was good times with him. He showed us some cool kind of movement drills. I enjoyed it.
Well, maybe he was the problem then because you lost that fight. So now that he's not around, maybe you go back to the old winning ways.
Yeah, I didn't get to move much in that fight, so.
Were you doing some of it? Were you actually doing some of it leading up to this one? Like, have you incorporated it into your training?
Come on, Ariel. I've got 5 years of ballroom dancing. I was teaching Ido Portal how to move.
Wow. Do you really have 5 years of ballroom dancing?
I do, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that
5
about you.
years.
What 5
Yeah,
years?
when I was a kid,
Yes.
when I was a kid, I always wanted to do like fighting sports, but my mom would never let me. She said like, no, you'll get your nose broken. Actually, funny enough, my nose is the only part of the body that I never broke. But yeah, she had me do ballroom dancing instead, and I spent like 5 years doing it.
Till what age?
I used to be cool. I used to be surrounded by beautiful women. I wrestle sweaty men now, so I don't know what happened there.
Till what age did you ballroom dance?
From like 7 to 12, 13.
Wow. Does that footage exist anywhere? I want to see you on your light on your toes.
Yeah, there's a picture of me on the web somewhere, back in my ballroom dancing days.
So now, what does your mom think about your career now? Does she watch?
No, she doesn't really watch fights. Even like when I win, she wouldn't really watch the fight but she doesn't mind. I mean, Connor was a big part of getting sort of accepted as a fighter, you know, because before, like when you told people, they didn't know what the hell is this, and they're like, "What? Are you crazy?" Whereas now you can just say, "Oh, do you know Conor McGregor?" Of course you do. Well, I do some, you know, the same thing that he does, and then it's all good.
What is it like these days? I mean, is it a little bit distracting at the gym? Are people coming now because of Connor and you were on the reality show and Ashling Daly won in Dublin? Like, are you guys becoming too big for Dublin, or do you still have your own space when you go to the gym? No one bothers you.
Well, we train at like nighttime when there's no one in the gym, so
Okay,
it's not too bad. And then we have like a policy in the gym where you're not really supposed to hassle the fighters too much, you know, with pictures and all, because you know everyone understands, you know, we have to train, you know,
of
this is
course.
this is our job, you know, we're not just there to look pretty, you know, we're there to do work. So it's not bad, yeah, it's all good. Everyone understands.
But you don't have people coming in like just regular because it's just right there in the open and people can find where the gym is and
Yeah.
walk right in, right?
Yeah, well, we have John's sister Anne Mulligan, you know, guarding the gates.
Oh wow.
She don't let no one in just like that off the street.
Okay, that is good. Yeah, no one wants to mess with John's sister, I would imagine. I've
No,
never seen her before, but I hear she's very tough.
yeah, no one messes with them.
So do you feel like you need to prove something? Like, is it possible, given, you know, regardless of what you were saying, is it possible that you're fighting for a UFC career here? You know, you don't want to lose two in a row in the
Definitely.
UFC. Do you feel that pressure?
Uh, Not pressure, but that's you know that's the way it is. You know, even when people ask me like, oh, how many fights did they sign you for? I was like, look, this is the way it works in the UFC. You perform good, you know, you win fights, you're exciting, you stay for as long as you want.
Hmm.
And then if you don't, well, then you go. And that's how I feel it is now. You know, there's always pressure to perform. You know, you always have to deliver exciting performances. You always have to win the fight. So that's exactly the same situation now. Yeah.
I know that you worked very hard to get to the UFC and you went through many regional promotions in Europe. Now that you've tasted a little bit of the, you know, the glamour life that is the UFC, is that motivation as well to not have to go back to working your way up and, you know, fighting in these small shows?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my main reasons for being in the UFC as well. One is that's where they say the most challenges are, so
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is pretty much the only place where I can just fight and not have to worry about anything else financially.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, how great would that be if I can just fight? I truly love fighting. I want to do it as often as I can. I don't really want to do anything else if I don't have to. So that would be a great life. So I'm fighting for that life right now.
And by the way, I'm curious to get your take on this because you're a veteran. You've had to work very hard to get to this spot, yet you're still kind of at the same spot as a Sage Northcutt. I know you were traveling when he lost, but you probably heard what happened to him. What was your reaction to that? Were you one of those who said, you know, hey, you got what you deserve? You tapped in half guard via arm triangle. You're getting all this money. You're on national TV. It was too much too soon. Do you feel for the kid? What's your take on it?
Well, you know, it's not like the guy stole it. You know, he
Right.
was given that. You know, it's not his fault. You know, he's athletic. It's not his fault. You know, he's good looking, very marketable. You know, guy. So, I mean, if this was given to me or anyone in the world at 19, everyone would take it.
Yeah.
Everyone would be in that position. So, I mean, he's only 19. He's gonna learn, I'm sure, and you know, he's got a lot of potential, I'm sure. So, it's no big deal, and I'm sure even I could see his reaction as well. He's probably not too bothered by it because he realizes what the situation is. He's 19, making more money than most people in their lifetime, you know. So the world is his oyster, you know. He's gonna have a great career, I'm sure.
Where's my man John at? I hear him laughing in the background.
He's
Your
here.
bunkmate. Oh, there he is. So
Ariel,
we have completely done away with the robes now. No more.
no sweet this time. You're trying with the Russian hammer.
I like that. You know, going back to the roots here. No McMansion, no nothing. Let's be in a crappy Vegas hotel.
It's still
Ariel,
not bad.
you should have seen some of the places I was in when I was fighting on all those regional promotions in some communist state hotel where there's no hot water, no tea, no
Oh
nothing.
wow. So
this is luxury compared to some of the places I fought in.
So it's not weird for you to come back to this, even being at the McMansion. This is okay. This is still a palace to
You're
you.
talking to a guy born in Soviet Union.
That is true.
Come on, Ariel. This is luxury for me.
Well, I wish you the best. I like the fact that they're putting this on Fight Pass as well. This is going to be on Fight Pass, right? So your European fans could watch live. Is that accurate?
Yep. Fight Pass, yeah.
So you're still on Fight Pass. By the way, were you sweating when all the news came out about 196? It was going to be canceled. Now, were you nervous about it?
Not really, because I know I'm ready to fight all the time, and I knew that there would be a fight for me somewhere.
Okay.
So that didn't bother me. I know UFC have events every week, so I was sure that I was gonna get sorted with the fight.
Well,
so that didn't bother me at all.
I look forward to seeing how you rebound from the Ryan Hall fight. Always fun to watch you fight, and this is I've never had a chance to see an Artem knockout in person. So perhaps this is what we'll be seeing on Saturday. I'm sure that's what you're calling for, right?
Make sure you see me.
Okay. Thank you very much, Artem. Best of luck to you. See you out there. And also, John, thank you very much for the Skype. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks very much, Ariel. Bye-bye.
All right,
Later,
guys.
buddy.
Take care. There he is, Artem Lobov of Team SBG stopping by. Great stuff from him as always. All right. Let us move along. What is going on here? Okay. Let us move along now and welcome in our next guest. Big weekend for him. Just one second. Okay, big weekend for him and his team this past weekend in Newark, New Jersey. Their teammate Brian Barberina stepped up on just 8 days' notice and defeated Sage Northcutt. A great moment for the lab in Arizona. They were all very happy, thought they handled it very well. Benson Henderson was in Brian's corner. A very nice moment afterwards between him and Sage. We'll ask him about that and a whole lot more right now. He joins us on line number one. Benson, are you there?
Hey, what up, Ariel? I'm right here, man.
Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it as always. Always great to talk to you. We'll get to Brian's win in a second, but I do understand that you have some major news to share with the world. So the floor is yours, my friend. What do you got?
Oh, yeah, just to make it official, man. It's the move everyone's been hearing about, been talking about for a while. First time a former UFC fighter going off a nice little win streak, heading over to Bellator. I'd like to officially announce my move over to Bellator MMA.
Wow.
I'm beyond excited for this next phase of my career. It's a big move, like any move when switching employers or jobs after having worked somewhere for such a long time. I got to thank the big man upstairs for putting some amazing people in my life. My wife, first and foremost, of course. A lot of truly smart and insightful people behind the scenes who helped make the connections and negotiate this deal to bring it to fruition. I'd be remiss to not thank Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta for the opportunities they presented me. You guys have helped me change my life for the better and to be able to provide for my family the things that I didn't have while growing up. For that, I'll always have the utmost appreciation. Thanks also for all the advice you guys gave me, both business-wise and personally, And last but not least, this is who I think about when I think of the UFC. So definitely last but not least, this is who I think of. This is the UFC to me. Everybody behind the scenes who I personally dealt with every time I reported in or I had to go do this or go do that or I had to email them this paperwork, the guys I dealt with. I want to say thanks to all those guys, Mayra, Melissa, Dave, Chris, Nick, Tracy, Joni, Maura, Tony, Heidi, Ryan, James, Dave, Kaya, Bert, Rob, Rudy, Stitch, House, Mike, Susie, Dean, Donna, Ariel, Sean, Joe, Brad, Jasmine, Candace, Michelle, of course, Reed. Sorry I can't name everybody, otherwise this list would go on forever, But there's so many people behind the scenes at the UFC. They're the ones who make the UFC what it is. They're the ones who allow us fighters to go out there and show out and do what it is we love so much. So thanks to all those guys. Thanks to everybody in the UFC behind the scenes who always, took care of us fighters, took care of me. And to all the fans, thanks for the love and support. I'll keep doing the same thing I was doing inside the UFC octagon. I'll be doing the same thing inside the Bellator cage, opening my heart and soul and giving everything that I have. Excited, super excited for this next chapter. I'm excited about building new relationships. Guys I've heard nothing but great things about, like Scott Coker, Rich Shaw, Mike Hogan, all of the Bellator staff. I've heard good things about those guys. So This is chapter 2 right here. I'm excited, man. I'm excited, Ariel.
Well, again, congratulations, or I should say, first off, congratulations. Very classy stuff from you. This is gigantic news in the world because, as you laid it out, it's very rare for someone with your resume to make that move. So, I'm curious right off the bat, how difficult of a decision was this for you? Because you were in a good spot in the UFC, you seemed comfortable, you seemed relatively happy. Now you're going to the unknown that comes with the territory, as you mentioned. How tough was this for you?
I'd be lying if I say it wasn't a little bit tough. For sure, it was a little bit tough coming to make the decision. But ultimately, it's what's best for myself and my family. And Bellator presented one heck of an offer, you couldn't say no to. So ultimately, they made it pretty easy on me. They opened up the red carpet. They, were super nice, just very much taking care of me. And showed how much they wanted myself on board, wanted myself a part of their team. So when you get that sort of reception, hard to say no.
Did they offer you anything? Did it come down to a serious negotiation? How did it go?
Oh yeah, there was actually a pretty detailed negotiation period. I brought in a bunch of good people, some higher ups who guys perhaps haven't heard of before in the mainstream media, guys who I don't think necessarily want to be named, but higher ups who normally deal with, Dana White, Lorenzo, Scott, and Mike Kogan on a daily basis, getting big deals done. So I was lucky enough to have relationships with those people, and I was able to bring them on board my team and get a pretty thorough negotiation done.
Are you happy with the deal that you got from Bellator?
I am ecstatic about this deal from Bellator.
Really?
It's not your normal typical. The thing with this deal, I think it's not your normal typical run of the mill. Like you go to whatever organization, like, oh, here you go, here's an offer, this and that, and that's pretty much the offer they have. It's the same offer as everybody else. I wanted some different things. I wanted some things that unheard of in the MMA world, like not just, just a win and show, but, some other clauses, some other details in the contract. And Bellator was open to those ideas, and we were able to go from there.
Wow. Well, that is exciting. And again, congratulations on that. Can you tell us a little more about what makes this contract unique?
I don't know what makes the contract so unique is that it's just, a fighter coming off a 2-fight win streak, going up a weight class, leaving the UFC on a good positive win streak and going over to somewhere else. I think that's the story of this deal. To me, that's the only thing I can think of. Like the deal, the contract itself is good. Nothing but positive for myself. But just the storyline behind that for me is just heading over to Bellator. I'm going to make some big waves. I want to make a whole explosion over there for Bellator.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, speaking of your debut, will you be debuting as a welterweight or a lightweight?
I think we're still in talks for that. I don't think I'm allowed to disclose or whatever, but I will say I will be fighting at both weight classes. Something that I wasn't exactly I'll be bouncing back and forth, 170, 155, 155, 170. I get to have some fun over there. I love that. I love being able to have the option to bounce around and not just being stuck here or stuck there, or you can't do this, or you're not allowed to do this, but having the option, the ability to, get creative and kind of do what you want to do. I love that, man. Bellator is all about that, making it fun for fighters, doing stuff that, they want to do and that they're interested in doing, knowing that, the fighters are interested in doing it. If it's something the fighters want to do, it'll be more than, of course, interesting for fans to watch.
But since you've had success in your last couple of fights at 170, do you want to keep that going rather than cutting weight, down to 155? Are you open? Like, do you have a preference if it was up to you where you would debut?
A preference for me? No, to be honest, I don't really have a preference one way or another.
Okay.
As long as I get in there, again, as always, just after great performances, I'm hoping to have nothing but great performances inside that Bellator cage. And that's all I'm after, whether it's at 170 or whether it's at 155.
I'm wondering, it's a different time these days, as you know, in the UFC in particular. Reebok, USADA. Did any of those play a factor in your decision?
USADA absolutely played no decision in my factor. I think USADA is a great, amazing thing the UFC should have done 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. The other thing, I might have played a little bit of a factor into my decision making. The Reebok deal that UFC did, affected all of the fighters. It affected myself. It was definitely a positive. Even the Reebok deal was a positive for some fighters. For some fighters who had a hard time coming across sponsors, and who had a hard time, negotiating in good faith with sponsors and getting those sponsors to actually pay up what they're supposed to pay them. A lot of times you hear these horror stories about fighters not getting paid. Reebok made it good for a lot of fighters, some fighters. For a lot of other fighters, it was, not the best look for us. So for me, yeah, I would say it definitely affected my decision in the grand scheme of things.
Obviously, you were there in New Jersey for your teammate, Brian Barberina, and his big win. Again, congratulations to you and the team on that. And obviously, you knew that this was happening. Was it at all awkward for you to be there? You were at the weigh-ins. You, I think, shook hands with Dana White. I mean, what was it like for you now as a almost soon-to-be or maybe officially former UFC fighter to be there with your guy when all this is going on?
No, again, like I said, talking about the people behind the scenes at the UFC, Tony, Mayra, Gene, all those guys, they all heard the rumors as well. They knew, there were some talks of this and that and yada yada, but they're all just awesome, amazing people. So they didn't really treat me any different. It was the exact same. I like to think they all like me, or they have positive opinions of myself, and I definitely have positive opinions of them. They're all around great people. They work their butts off. The guys behind the scenes of the UFC work their butts off. They bend over backwards, not only for the UFC VPs, the UFC, their bosses who yell at them and tell them, you got to do this, you got to do it this way, you can't dress this, you can't say this, you can't post this. But they bend over backwards for us fighters, helping us do, be able to do what we do at our optimal peak levels. If a fighter says, oh, I need yada, 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 one of the UFC guys they're all over it. They're taking care of it.
So you see, I feel like, and I said this before this news obviously came out, but as we were anticipating 2016, free agency in MMA is the story to watch this year, because we're finally starting to see fighters play out their contracts and test the market. And I think people need to learn this, that it's not an animosity thing or a fighter rebelling or being a Benedict Arnold. We see this in every other sport. This is a common occurrence. And so it's going to be really interesting. And I think that your move now potentially creates a snowball effect. Did you look at it that way? Like, do you think, and maybe the way you prefaced it is a preview of what your answer is going to be, but do you feel like you're going to create this snowball effect and be a pioneer, and other young fighters who are now free agents or soon to be free agents are going to be like, wow, Benson Henderson, former champion WC and UFC, now did the jump. Now it's okay for me to go. Are you trying to create that kind of movement here so that there's, this open market in our sport?
I wouldn't say I'm trying to create the movement. I would think that it would be silly for fighters. I know us fighters, we're not always the sharpest tools in the shed. We're not the brightest bulbs, but we're relatively smart individuals. It would definitely be foolish of any fighter to not at least take a look at his options. If you don't, take a look at what you could get potentially elsewhere, it'd be, maybe not the best idea. But for some people, maybe that is what they want to do. That's the route they choose. But you're right, though, like saying that it's new to the MMA, because MMA is such a young sport still. It's such a young sport. But in, the professional soccer or, the world football, you see guys leaving from the English Premier League to go to the MLS, or you see guys leaving MLS to go to the English Premier League. Basketball, you see all the time. I'll see it all the time. It's just the same thing. What people need to understand, and sometimes have a hard time understanding what, me as a fan of sports, I had a hard time understanding for a long time, is that the business side of sports. Like, in the long run, sports are amazing. It's, transcendent stuff, but in the long run, the owners of the teams, the owners of the leagues, the players themselves, it is a business. You have to make the best business decisions for yourself, for your family. If you have a chance to make this much money or to be able to take care of your family in this way, and then you lose out on it just because you are strong-armed, so to speak, or is looked down upon to look at your options, I'd say look at your options, man. Look at your options.
Was this a two-horse race between the UFC and Bellator, or did you consider any other promotions?
That was what took so long, is because I considered all other options. I had a couple of long conversations with Hume for ONE FC.
Uh-huh.
They presented actually a strong offer. They presented a very strong offer. Number 2 in the offer sheet was you could say it was ONE FC. They came with a strong offer. They rolled the red carpet also. For these other organizations to be able to have the chance to scoop up a free agent like former UFC yada yada whatever, they all jumped at the opportunity. They all came with some strong offers, and I wouldn't say it was just a two-horse race. There were a lot of other organizations that we took offers from. It wasn't just even took a couple offers from kickboxing organizations. I was looking to go into just having a couple of kickboxing fights. Yeah, the money there wasn't the same for MMA, but I was taking offers from everybody. So that's what actually took so long.
I know that Bellator might be getting into the kickboxing world soon. Is that on the table for you?
That is. There's a clause in the Bellator contract for me to be able to do their sister organizations, the organizations that they have relationships with.
Okay. Yeah.
Most importantly, I wanted to have my for love of the game clause in there, so I'll be able to continue doing. I was getting not browbeaten, but I was doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. I love doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. I love staying busy. I love competing, doing marathons and triathlons. Start going and doing into that. So there's a love of the game clause in my contract with Bellator that allows me to do jiu-jitsu tournaments and other things of that nature. So I was pretty excited about that too.
So you said that ONE FC was number 2. I'm assuming that Bellator was number 1. Were you disappointed that you didn't get a better offer from the UFC?
No, the UFC came with a strong offer. It was actually it was a very strong offer from the UFC. It would have made me the highest paid lightweight fighter on the roster. Or I forgot what one of the guys said. One of the UFC VPs, not Dana, not Lorenzo, but one of the other VPs of the UFC was telling me like their offer, like, oh, well, hey, we gave you this offer, but if you look at it, it makes you the highest paid lightweight. Obviously not the belt holder, or put you at, I think it was like top 7 for the welterweight, something like that. I don't remember exactly, so I don't want to be quoted on that, but it was around that range. UFC came with a strong offer, but it's the intangibles. It's the sponsorships. There's other things. It's not just the base price. The base price, the win and show money. That's probably the last thing that was. Not the last thing, but one of the lower things that's considered, because there's a lot of other intangibles that go into a contract. And Bellator came with a lot of other high intangibles that UFC just couldn't quite, match.
Are you a fan of, have you been following Bellator? I don't know, Will Brooks, their lightweight champion, just tweeted to you, "I'm your Huckleberry," which is kind of a nod to something that you like to say to people. Are you excited about particular matchups? Is he at the top of that list? What are your thoughts on the promotion as it stands right now?
My thoughts on the promotion, I have watched Bellator. They're a great organization. They've been around for a while. They do things very well. They position themselves. They do things smart, and they position themselves very well to have success in these next couple of years, to be able to negotiate and have the funds to back it up and be able to offer fighters different things that other organizations might not be able to match or to offer these fighters. So I'm really excited about the opportunities I'm going to have at Bellator and Viacom, and as far as the weight classes, 55, 70, man, I'm coming to make an explosion. I'm coming to make some waves. So 55, 70, anybody there, you guys know me, anybody, anytime, anywhere. And some people just talk that. A lot of people just say, oh, yeah, anytime, anywhere, and yada, yada, yada. And then UFC or somebody will ask them, oh, do you want to fight, 2 weeks from now? And then what's their answer? Oh, no, I can't make weight. Or, oh, no, I can't do this. I can't, yada, yada. No, I'm not like that. When I say anytime, anywhere, I mean it. And I'm coming after belts in Bellator. So whoever has the belt at 55, Will Brooks, the belt holder at 170, I'm coming after him too. I'm just excited, man. It's like, anytime you go somewhere new, different, you have your period of being slightly nervous and that sort of stuff. But I reach a point where I'm just excited. I'm excited for the opportunities. I'm excited for new things. No more rematches. No this, no that old stuff. But for me, it's all brand new. It's exciting, man. I just can't get over how excited I am to enter this chapter.
After your win over Masvidal, you said that you intend on retiring in the UFC. Is that still the plan, or has it changed now?
It's a fluid plan that changes and goes with the course. Bellator, I hear great things about Bellator. I imagine I'm not going to have any problems at Bellator, and I won't have any fuss from their lawyers or anything like that. So if it comes down to it, and this is the last contract, then this is the last contract, and I'll be retiring from Bellator. If there's one more contract after this, then that's no problem. Also, I can do one more contract after this with whoever, But that's a long ways away. That's a long ways away. So we'll see.
Okay, so then let me ask you this, because I pay attention to this stuff. You have long said that you want to retire at 33. You're 32. Is that still the plan?
That's the part I'm having a hard time with. That's the part There's some other things. There's a lot of other things I wanted to do before I got to be too old, so to speak, and I was capped by an age limit. I'm going to see if I can still sneak those things in. It might be kind of hard for me, but I was in conversation with. I was able to get a hold of some of the higher ups of what I want to do, and they are open to. They say they can make special compensations to allowing someone of a higher age than their age limit get in. So,
what are you referring to? What are you referring to?
I feel a strong civic duty. I've always had a strong civic sense. I always wanted to, give up myself to my country. So whether that's, everyone always says, "Oh, I was going to join the Army. I was going to join the Marines. I was going to join something." For myself, there's a limit to how old you can be when you join the Army or the Marines or the Air Force or something like that. But for myself, I wanted to retire at that age because you could still sneak in before the age cap. An age limit, but I was able to talk to some of the higher ups, and they said that they do make special compensations to let people in who are over the age. So if I can do that, I'll be going past 33.
Wow, so you want to join the Army?
We'll see. I want to say that exactly because I don't want to get all huffy join the Army or whatever. But I feel a strong civic sense. I've always felt that way. It's something I think every person, whether you're a man or a woman, should give back to your country. You should in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's whatever it is you decide, something to do. And for me, I think I could help a lot with the armed forces. I was sponsored by a body armor company, so I did a lot of stuff for our troops. I love all our soldiers, all our Marines, all our seamen, all of our Marines. And I've done a lot of things with the armed forces before, and I would like to give back to our country, to my country.
By the way, a quick side note. Love the moment after Brian's win on Saturday where you seem to have gone up to Sage. We have a great photo of that from Esther Lynn. What did you say to Sage in that moment?
Well, I know you're just, pretty heartbroken at that moment. So a lot of what someone says kind of goes in one ear and out the other, and but I was trying to get his attention, get him to really listen to what I was saying. I was saying, hey, man, sucks. We all lose. It happens to everybody. But use it to help make you a better fighter. Don't let this be a defining moment. Let this be a small step to making you better. Let it help you, fuel you, to drive you to do things that you don't want to do. Normally, for boxers, they want to box when they get into MMA. They don't want to do the ground game. Well, let it fuel you to be your drive to get in there and do jiu-jitsu classes, put a gi on. for jiu-jitsu guys who get into MMA and they just want to do ground stuff all the time. They don't want to hit mitts. If they lose, let that fuel you. Let it fire you up to get in there and get in your mitt sessions. So I was just trying to express to him, to bounce back, to stay strong, and to just all that nature.
Right.
It was kind of hard. It's kind of quick.
Sure.
I was only able to talk to him for about 30 seconds or so. So I was trying to express all that in less words.
By the way, I didn't ask you this before I let you go. When do you want to debut?
As soon as possible. I want to debut next weekend if possible.
Okay.
Where's the next Bellator show is next week. I'm ready to go. When I say I'm in the gym all the time, I'm always training, I'm not lying. I'm in the gym all the time. I'm always training. I'm always going to be ready. So I want to get this, get this show on the road. I want to get in there. I want to put on those Bellator gloves. I want to get in that cage and go have a great performance.
Well, a fun little moment here. We actually have the president of Bellator MMA, Scott Coker, on the line. I thought it would be nice if he can officially now welcome you to the team. Scott, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Scott, we got Benson on the line as well.
How's it going,
Benson,
Scott?
how are you? Yeah, I'm
good, man. I'm good.
so happy that you signed with us. You're going to be a great asset to our company. And believe me, of all the free agents that are out there, I said to my guys, we got to go after Benson. He's our number one target. So welcome aboard and welcome to the family. And we're going to have a lot of good fun together.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. I'm excited for these next couple of years, man. It's gonna be great.
Okay, well, that was a beautiful moment right there. I'm gonna pepper Scott with many more questions now. So Benson, I will let you go. Can't thank you enough for coming on and talking about this with us first, and most importantly, congratulations to you and your family. One of my favorites ever to cover. You're a class act, my friend. You deserve it and then some. So I'm really happy for you and this new deal. Good luck in your debut. I'll probably talk to you before then, but good luck and congratulations again, my friend.
All right, thanks a lot, Ariel. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. There he is, the newest member of the Bellator MMA team, Benson Henderson. He has now officially signed with them. He is joining the team sooner rather than later. So who better than Scott Coker to ask when he will be debuting with Bellator? Scott, again, thank you for the time. Congratulations on this news. When will Benson Henderson make his Bellator debut?
Yeah, you know what, Ariel, that's still up in the air. But, I mean, we've got the contract in not even 24 hours ago. And, we're going to meet with Rich and the guys today. But I think that you'll see Benson, fighting probably in the next, 2 months. That's the kind of our game plan. And who he's fighting and where he's fighting, we really don't know yet. But as soon as we know, I'll let you know first.
So, you said something very interesting to Benson. You said that of all the free agents, he was the one that you really had your eye on. Why him? Why did he intrigue you so much?
Boy, I tell you, this guy has done it all. He's fought everybody. We had some really good lightweights in the Strike Force with Josh Thompson and Gilbert Melendez. And, he beat both of those guys, had some epic battles, and he's dug nobody. And I've always liked him because he's such a class act and such a great guy, too. I thought he'd be a great fit for our company. And I told my guys, listen, I really want to get this kid, so let's go out and get him. And I'm so glad that we did.
How was the process? Considering the fact that you wanted him, was it tense at times? Were you confident from the get-go that there was a good match there? This is a new thing. And, I have to say, Scott, I think that this is the most significant signing by another promotion as far as a UFC fighter, going to sign somewhere else since you signed Dan Henderson to Strikeforce. I really feel that, and you could make the case that it's even bigger, considering the fact that he's a former UFC champion and whatnot. How was the process for you?
Yeah, I mean, the process was back and forth. I mean, the fighters have choices now. I mean, they could stay where they're at, or they could come over here. I think we made a compelling argument of why we would be a really good home for him. At the end of the day, he decided to sign with us. And, we got some good fights from out there, and we're excited, but, at the end of the day, Errol, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And, fighters are fighting the contracts out. They want to negotiate. They really want to see what their value is. And we're gonna help them, define what that value is, because it's always healthier for the industry to have more than one bidder. And, I think that we're going to be out there. We're going to bid for guys that we want. Some of the free agents we won't bid for. and some we will, some we'll get, some we won't, and that's just the nature of this business. And I've always said, look, we're going to build our roster from the ground up, and then we're going to buy the free agents from the top down that we want. And that's really our game plan, and it's worked for me in the past, and I'm bringing that formula here to Bellator.
Why do you think that this is a thing now, that fighters are starting to, want to just play out the contract? They may re-sign, they may not. Why do you think that this has become a trend all of a sudden?
Well, I think that, they want to see what their value is. And at the end of the day, the fighter, wants to make money and provide for his family and have a future. And so I think that, we're definitely a company that can help accomplish those goals. And they want, and it's like they want to test it out. They say, okay, well, what are you willing to pay me? Well, what are you willing to pay me? And it's not just about money, but a lot of times it is about money. And we don't have some restrictions that maybe other leagues have. We don't have a t-shirt deal that they have to wear, or right. We let them go get their own sponsor so they can make even more money. So. We have a little bit more freedom, and we're not as restrictive, and I think that that's attractive to a lot of fighters today.
You mentioned maybe this becoming a trend. Anyone else you could tell us that you're interested? There's a lot of interesting names out there right now.
Yeah, there are, and we are talking to a lot of free agents out there, and we will make some offers on some we won't. It's a constant negotiation process. Yeah. We made it pretty public that we're talking to Vanderlei Silva, see what he's got planned for the future, and we're talking to all the other names that and we know out there that are free agents that are negotiating with both sides. So, it's good. I think that like I said, you need to have at least two bidders to keep an industry healthy, and we're going to do our part.
Regarding Vanderlei for a second here, isn't that tricky because of his relationship with the Nevada Athletic Commission? Won't that be hard to promote him in America?
Oh yeah, I mean he's gonna have to clear all that up.
Okay.
That's gonna be part of the deal, I know that Ryzen wants to sign him as well, so there's gonna be a couple bidders out there for Vanderlei's services, but between Ryzen and Bellator, when he gets cleared in the U.S. to fight, I think that Vanderlei could probably stay pretty busy as he wants. I know he's in Brazil right now, but when he comes back, we're definitely going to have a serious conversation.
Back to Benson, do you think he'll debut at 155 or 170?
That's really going to be up to him, but my understanding is that he wants to fight at 170.
Interesting, because as I said to him, Will Brooks, your champion at 155, seems very interested in that fight. And if you're asking me, I know you didn't ask me, but I feel like that's the most interesting fight right off the bat. Will Brooks, Benson, Henderson. It doesn't sound like that's going to be his debut fight, though.
Yeah, and Ariel, it could be. I mean, really, we are, like I said, less than 24 hours of signing. Yeah. And I still owe Benson a call just to talk to him about some of these details that you're asking me right now. So this all happened so quickly, and he wanted to break it on your show, so we said okay. Let's break it on Ariel. It'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I mean, happy to do it. And he's a great kid. And after we get off the phone, I'm going to call him up, and we're going to have that conversation about weight class and time frame and venue and the whole thing.
If you want, we could call him right back, and we could do the conversation on the air right now. What do you think?
You know what? I think that's a private conversation we should probably have.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let me ask you this: has he warranted an immediate title shot? Would you be okay with that, or would you want to build him up a little bit?
Oh, no. I mean, to me, it's really up to him. I mean, if he wants to go for the belt, I mean, come on. The guy's done it all. Yeah. How could you say he doesn't deserve a shot? I mean, he's already been there and done that. So, to me, we would have no problem doing it. Can
you just do me a favor? Can you tell him no more toothpicks while you're fighting? I know it's a commission thing, but it just kind of freaks me out. I'm afraid he's going to puncture, his throat. It's a very dangerous thing. He's an unbelievable guy for being able to pull this off, but it's not. I don't feel like it's very safe.
I'm gonna tell him, Benson. Ariel's really worried, so we need to stop this behavior.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, by the way, a great show on Friday. Paul Daly wins. He goes, he starts going back and forth with Koscheck, who's in his hometown. It was a very fun scene. Are we gonna do that fight next, or do you still want Josh to have another fight before potentially fighting Paul?
No, I got to talk to Josh about that, but our goal really is, to have that fight happen as soon as Koscheck's healthy, and so we're hoping sometime in the summertime maybe we'll put those guys together, and we've been very public about that, saying that's the fight we really want, that's the fight that the fans want to see, and we're going to put it together at some point in 2016.
And what about Melvin Gillard's situation? Is he without an opponent for February 19th?
You know what? Right now he is, but we're going to fix that today. So
do you want to announce something?
Well, we haven't we don't have anything signed. Otherwise, I would break it on your show. But I could definitely let you know through text later today or tomorrow.
Is it Pitbull? He's been really campaigning for that. He won in pretty devastating fashion. Does he have a shot?
You know what? It's definitely a possibility, but I got to sit back and talk to the guys here and figure out who it's going to be. And but we just don't have anything to announce on that fight.
Okay.
Right now.
Is it true that your voice is hoarse because you were cheering on your Golden State Warriors against my New York Knicks last night? We had you. We were winning in the first quarter. I don't know if you saw that, 20-18.
I was watching.
Is that what's going on? Well, why does your voice sound the way it does?
Yeah, you know what? It's not a funny story, but when I came back from Japan a month ago, I got a little bit sick. Flu, had pneumonia, the whole thing. So it's been a constant battle. But I'm finally through the back end of this thing, and the only thing lingering is my voice sounds like Barry White.
Yes, I actually like it. It's very soothing.
But I feel fine. I'm ready to go, man. I'm really excited about 2016. I mean, we got the Royce Gracie Houston fight against Ken Shamrock, Kimbo Slice. We got some good things we're going to announce in the summer here coming up. We got San Jose to announce. So we're excited about this year, and believe me, our roster is just going to grow and grow and grow. And by the end of this year, I think we're going to have a really good roster on our hands and have some big fights ahead of us.
Is there any concern, honestly? And I know some people say, I felt like this one's authentic. Is there any concern security-wise about Kimbo and Dada? I had Kimbo on my show. He did not seem like he's a huge fan of the guy, and that's putting it mildly. Like, are you guys going to have to beef it up in Houston on fight?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, I learned my lesson on the last one.
That's true.
And, we're going to keep them at separate hotels, and we're going to have security for those guys, and it's going to be locked down. I mean, everybody's going to be locked down the minute we get to Houston. So we're not going to take any chances, and we're going to let them get in the cage and see who the better man is.
Kimbo now holds the record for the most watched Bellator event on Spike. Will you be disappointed if this one, considering the names, doesn't break it?
You know what? I have high hopes, and I think that we can break it. But it's going to have to be a situation where we go and we prove ourselves and promote this properly, and wait till you see the back pieces that Spike TV and our digital department have created about Royce and the past, and has great footage of his father and just amazing footage that I've never seen before, and it really was a historical documentary on his life and the whole MMA scene back in '93, and then before that, his battle with Ken, but the footage of his father training and fighting and grappling. I mean, it was some magic footage there, and then we got some great pieces on Kimbo coming out and Dada coming out, and I think by the time February 19th rolls around, this whole country is going to know about the fight, and we're hoping for a big tune-in number.
Back to the Benson deal for a second. This may not be a story that comes to mind when people are talking about it, but for you personally, and perhaps the team that you brought in, is this a major milestone in the sense that, like, now you got Bellator to the point where they can be in play for a guy like Benson Henderson, not a guy coming off of 2-3 losses, coming off of wins, former champion in multiple organizations? Like, do you feel like this is the snowball effect? This is the beginning of that? This is the feather in your cap that you needed to now go out and tell other people, like, look, Benson's here. This guy jumped. You can jump as well. Do you view it that way?
I think that all these free agents that are out there are not just testing free agency just to test it. I mean, there's other fighters out there that I think that we'll get, and fighters are going to fight out their contracts because they want to see what they're worth, what their value is, And that's going to go both ways. I mean, Errol, that's not going to just happen, from one league to our league. It's going to happen from our league to other leagues as well. And that's really what I think is going to happen. But, Phil Davis, I think, was a great signing.
Yep.
And, he's had tremendous value in Bellator winning the tournament. And, Benson. But Benson is probably, the most accomplished, free agent that we've signed. Is it gonna have a snowball effect? What it will do is it will have make a situation where we're all gonna have conversations with these people. And like I said, some fighters that we really want, we'll go after. Some fighters we might not want, and we might not go after. So it all depends, and it's gonna be on a per case basis. But listen, we're really excited to have this guy on our team, man. He has done it all and fought everybody, and beat my two guys, which I thought were really, really good. And those were close fights, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, he was a champ and he stayed the champ. But for him to come over to Bellator, I think it will set a little bit of precedence as, hey, you can go over there and you can have a good home too. It doesn't have to just be the one buyer. Now there's two buyers.
Right. By the way, Chris Lieben, interested in him?
You know what? I'm not sure. I think that Rich is talking to his management, but I'm not sure how serious it is right now.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a very big day for Bellator. Again, congratulations, Scott. What a 24 hours for you. You beat the best team in the NBA via a pretty big margin, the Knicks, and then you signed Benson Henderson. Wow. Your luck continues to get better. Well done.
Boy, I'm telling you, man, I'm excited about the Warriors, and I'm excited about Benson Henderson.
Yeah, this is huge. This is a very interesting time. Congratulations. I think the world of Benson. Have enjoyed covering him and watching him fight since the WEC days. One of the very best at 155 and at 170. I think they have him wrong in the rankings, to be honest. That's a different discussion for a different day. But yeah, this is huge for you guys, and I'm very curious to see where he debuts, in which division, against who. Super interesting stuff. So again, thank you for the platform and for coming here and for talking about it with us first. Congratulations to the whole team, and looking forward to what else you have up your sleeve. And oh, by the way, good luck February 19th in Houston as Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock meet for the third time, and Kimbo Slice meets Data 5000. That taking place at the Toyota Center. Appreciate it, Scott.
Hey, my pleasure, Errol. Anytime, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, there he is, Scott Coker, president of Bellator MMA, stopping by. A big afternoon for them, a big signing. Benson Henderson has officially joined Bellator MMA. Okay, let's move along now. As we talked earlier in the show, big show for the UFC on Saturday. They were in Newark. Of course, big story that night. Brian Barberina defeating Sage Northcutt. First loss for the 19-year-old Super Sage Northcutt. And how about this? He has agreed to join us right now on the show, showing a lot of poise and maturity, and appreciate that wholeheartedly. Sage, thank you very much for coming on. How are you doing?
Thanks, Mr. Helwani. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure, as always. So how can you put the last 36 hours or so into words? What has it been like for you coming off your first pro loss?
So first off, sorry if my voice sounds a little bit funny. I don't want to make excuses for my poor performance out there, but I actually had strep throat 3 times in the past 4 months. And then when I actually got down to New Jersey, I had been on multiple different antibiotics. And then in New Jersey, 2 days before my fight, I had a real bad relapse of the strep throat. And I had to go to the emergency ready clinic where the UFC had to take me. And then Dr. D actually had to write a prescription for me for more antibiotics, stuff like that. So really, I really couldn't explain how I felt out there. I felt really horrible. Obviously, don't want to pull out of a fight before going out there to actually fight. That's not good. And I just had a hard time breathing out there. I really wasn't myself, so I wasn't the Sage that you would normally see out there in the octagon. And even after the first 30 seconds or the minute out there in the octagon, I couldn't breathe. It felt like my legs were cement, and it just wasn't me out there. So I know that I'll be coming back better than ever, and I'm still healing up from being sick. So in a few days, I'm going back to the doctor again and trying to heal up from all this.
What did that do for your confidence in the fight? Like when you knew then the first 30 seconds you just weren't yourself, you weren't feeling like yourself, did that start to play tricks on your mind?
No, sir, it really didn't. It didn't play tricks on my mind. It's just that when I was out there, I was really, the main thing is I was having a hard time breathing, and also I had to, like, even Jeff Novinsky, Mr. Novinsky with USADA, we had to call up him. My coaches had to call up him, even call up the UFC and figure out what kind of medicine I could take. My nose and nasal congestion that's probably why I sound kind of funny right now, was so clogged up and bad that I had to take a bunch of different medicines and different things that I could underneath the USADA rules to try to be able to breathe out there. And also my ears, it sounds crazy, but I really couldn't hear anything. And I don't know if you've had strep throat or anybody that you know of has ever had strep throat, but anybody that I know that's ever had strep throat, they really can't even get out of bed to go to work. So it was definitely pretty tough, but I'll be back better for sure.
How close were you to actually pulling out of the fight?
So once actually my original opponent broke his foot to fight at 155, we got a fight scheduled at 170. So I was already sick at the time, and I figured, and so did my coaches, they also figured that going down, cutting the weight, it'd probably be best even to fight at 170. That's okay, because having my body drained with the energy of having strep throat, having a relapse with that coming, that being able to eat more food and not have to cut weight would actually help out my body to recover a little bit more, and hopefully I would feel better out there. So obviously having the relapse of the strep throat and everything just 2 days before the fight, going to the emergency care clinic with the UFC, it wasn't what we thought, I guess. Trying to recover is the same. So I guess I'm starting to get better now and heal up, but I know next fight around I'll be good.
Hindsight's always 20/20, but in hindsight, you wish you didn't take the fight.
Right. Well, yes, sir. Well, the thing is, you obviously with the UFC having a fight like that and having to reschedule a last minute thing, moving up a weight class, you're there to fight. So that's my job. You don't want to pull out of the fight when you have so many people and fans and friends, family, everybody, and especially the UFC being my job. To be able to go out there and fight for them, you don't want to pull out and have that ruin the outcome of the event for the amount of people that came to support you and watch you and support you and everything. So that wouldn't have been good. And obviously, you never want to pull out of that. At least I wouldn't. So go out there fighting. I thought I could do it, and I wish I wasn't sick out there. I know I would have been in a different stage, different me out there fighting.
I know you're only 19, but you've been competing for a very long time. A lot of people might not recognize that. Have you ever felt this way in a fight before, where you were battling just a normal thing like breathing?
No, sir. I've never felt like that ever before. It felt like, really, believe it or not just the breathing. It felt like I couldn't concentrate. I wasn't my normal self. I was having a real hard time hearing. Like, you can imagine, like, if you fly on an airplane and your ears get stopped up where they feel like they have to pop. It felt like that, but times 2 or 3, where I couldn't even hear my coaches, what they were saying. Even like face to face, I couldn't hear anything. Coming up the week for the UFC, I always try to keep a smile on my face and act like there was nothing going on, so that way no one would know that I was even sick or anything like that. The UFC knew I was sick because I had to go to the emergency clinic. But really, I was just laying down in bed and sleeping the whole time coming up to the event, besides going out and doing the media that I got to do and had to do for the UFC.
Yeah. What were you like in the locker room? Like in the minutes and hours before the fight, were you freaking out? You're always very calm, cool, and collected, but were you kind of freaking out given the state of your health?
Yes, sir. It was a little weird, to tell you the truth. And back there, I actually had this nose spray. I've never even used nose spray before. A special kind of nose spray. I'd take these decongestant pill things. They didn't actually really work. So my voice sounds funny. Couldn't really breathe and talk, and I was having to spray this stuff in my nose to be able to try to breathe better before going out to the event. And that didn't really seem to work, but I tried it. And so that was a little weird. I just didn't feel like myself even coming into the event. And I'll always try to keep a smile on my face and of course have fun out there, but I wasn't myself.
So, of course, the finish has been much talked about, because we don't often see finishes like that where the fighter who's in control is applying the submission, is in either half guard or full guard, not quite side control when trying to score the arm triangle. There have been a lot of theories thrown out. You panicked. You've never been in that position before. But let's hear it from you. Why did you tap when you did? What did it feel like?
So, sorry. So so really, it wasn't the fact about panicking. I felt very calm. The thing was having the hard time breathing and having a mouthpiece in when it really felt like my energy level, it wasn't the same energy level like I would even have. I fought as a 155er, really. Weighing 170 is what I weighed when I walked out there, actually. Just like I weighed in at the weigh-ins, I got to eat breakfast coming into the weigh-ins and stuff. I'd already cut my weight pretty much coming into the event. So I didn't have my same strength as I had. But when he was on top of me, it was having his shoulder, I guess, in my throat for that. I know it wasn't like a traditional head and arm choke from side control. We get to really apply the same kind of pressure. But just being able to have your jaw shut and then trying to breathe through your nose for this time during the fight, I was so congested, to tell you the truth, that I couldn't even breathe, much less standing up, really. That's why I wasn't able to move the same, wasn't able to kick the same. What I wanted to do and what I thought in my head about doing out there, I wasn't able to actually act it out and do it because my body wasn't able to keep up. And it was like your heart was racing because it's like breathing through a straw. That's what it really felt like. So down there in that position, even though it may not have been the best lock in the hold, I was having such a hard time breathing that it was just as tight as what it might have been if I wasn't that kind of position, if I was sick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes all the sense in the world. And I'm so happy that you were able to explain that. After the fight, he celebrated the way he did. And, in the moment, before you get to the back and everything, how were you dealing with it? Like right then and there, did it sink in right away that you had just lost? I know you felt horrible about it all, but how did you deal with it internally?
Yes, sir. I felt like I let everybody down and let the UFC down, let myself down for obviously doing that. I know I went up a weight class to fight, and I went in there sick, which many people did not know about me going in there, coming over strep throat, and then relapsing. It was a hard time even me getting out of the bed, doing the media, coming up to the event, and like the open workout and stuff like that. Always trying to keep a smile on my face. So I went out there and fought, but afterwards, I know I have a lot to learn. So I'm definitely going to learn a lot, and I'm excited to go to Canada and go train at TriStar and learn as much as I possibly can. So I'm definitely going to be learning a lot and be the best that you've ever seen me for the next fight.
Will you be going there full time now?
Yes, sir. I'll be up there full time. It looks like I do have schoolwork still because I'm still at Texas A&M, so I'm trying to figure out how exactly that's going to work, if I need to come back to do certain tests and quizzes, or how that's going to work out. So I'm still playing out that schedule, but yes, sir, I'll be training at TriStar.
Now, have you paid attention to social media at all? Have you seen the reaction, good or bad, to this loss?
A little bit, yes, sir. Not too much. I made a post on my Instagram and my Twitter, my Instagram and my Twitter, and I got to see a lot of positive things that were uplifting. So that's always nice to hear. Some comments from the champion at 155, Rafael dos Anjos, Don Cerrone, he's awesome. Just so many different people that are so nice and sticking up for me. So it really means a lot. I know you're sticking up for me, and just all the support. It means a lot.
Yeah, and you talked about this actually on Thursday, where you said you if you see something negative, you just move on to the next one. But as you may have heard, a lot of the fans, we know that they're going to be this way. They're like this all the time. It's a part of the game. But a lot of your fellow fighters sort of celebrating the loss and the way in which you lost. Did that hurt you at all? Were you like? Does it break your heart? Does it bother you? How do you react to something like that? Because it's a rare thing to see.
Right. Yes, sir. And no one ever likes that someone's celebrating that someone lost. So obviously, sorry, it's kind of hard for me to talk. Obviously, it's not something that you want to hear. You don't want to listen to. But I mean, it's a sport of MMA, so I understand it. I mean, they're talking this or that or whatever. It might not be positive about me, but there's people that are lifting me up and saying great things. So I'm focused on those things, and I know that I have a ton of heart out there. So if people think that I was tapping out there because I panicked or I pressured, it wasn't that. It was the fact that I was extremely sick. I actually stepped up to fight up a whole weight class, stepped up to fight while I was actually sick, which people didn't know, and coming over strep throat. I actually have a strep throat in the octagon. So just all those different things. Barely being able to breathe, felt like you're breathing through a straw. Not be able to breathe really on the ground at all, like taking like little whizzing breaths. Does that make sense? Just I had to step up so much to be able to do that, and for the next fights to come, hopefully I'm completely well. I'm not going to be sick, and I'm going to be training smart and learning as much as I possibly can.
Why do you think that at this point you're such a polarizing figure in the sport? Like, it's amazing. You were the top story coming out of that, and you're so young and you're new to the game. And like I said, you don't often see the fighters react this way. Why do you think that is? Do you think it is because of your purse, how much you make? Is it another reason? Why do you think that is?
Oh, thank you. I think it could be because I'm very young, like you said. I'm very young. I do have a lot to learn. So now I'm going to get to go up to TriStar and learn as much as I possibly can. And I think that has a big fact of everything. Just being 19 years old and being able to be in the UFC has a big effect on every single thing that people look at. So I'm honored and blessed to even be in the UFC, much less be 19 years old in the UFC, knowing that I have so much time to learn, so much technique to learn, everything all around and make myself better. And I think that has to do with what people are looking at or picking at.
I know not that long ago you asked Benson Henderson if he gave you permission to use his walkout song, which was a respectful thing to do. And then there's a great picture, as we talked about with Benson, taken by our Esther Lynn, where it's clear that he's telling you something after the fight. And his guy beat you, so he's obviously happy. But I thought it was really cool of him to come up to you. Do you remember what he said to you at all? And did you appreciate the fact that he did so?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. So I appreciate the fact that he lets me use the song Awesome God, because I'm a Christian, and just being able to use a song, that means a lot to me, having a song of worship, just going out there in the octagon. So that's very nice of him. Him coming up to me afterwards and telling me to keep my head up, pretty much what all the great fighters have been saying, and the UFC that have been supporting me and backing me up, and all the people that have their support behind me. So that was very nice of him to say, and he's just a very, very nice guy, and I'm very thankful that he was saying something nice and positive for me and lifting me up.
Did you get a chance to talk to Dana White after the fight? And if so, what did he say to you?
I got to see Mr. White after the fight, just only for a second. And yes, sir, obviously I was telling him telling everybody, I felt like I let everybody down, let the UFC down. And Mr. White, along with the UFC, Mr. Davinsky, Dr. D, who's the doctor for the UFC, they all know that how sick I was coming into the fight. That I had a relapse, and my coaches actually had to contact Mr. White. Speaking about Mr. White, I had to contact him a few days before the fight to take me to the emergency ready clinic for my strep throat and the relapse and everything, my congestion, every single thing. So he knows all about that, and he was obviously happy that I was stepping up to take the fight in a higher weight class and staying in it while I'm sick. So that was very nice of him.
I see you got some stitches, right?
Oh, just a little tiny one.
Is that the first time in your fighting career that you've had stitches?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
First time.
How do you feel
but
about?
It's okay. It's very little.
Okay.
Hopefully, it never happens again.
By the way, a few people said this to me over the weekend, but I wanted to ask you because there's always these crazy rumors about you for whatever reason. Do you spar leading up to fights, or is it true that you don't?
No, sir. Normally, I do not spar leading up to fights, and it's just kind of protecting yourself from injuries. And for the moment being, I haven't been at a gym where there is any sparring or any MMA fighters actually at the gym. So the gym that I'm specifically at is a Gracie Baja gym. So in the future, obviously, I can spar and train my technique in different ways. Go up to TriStar, getting different training partners, different UFC fighters that are in there, very well talented, and getting to learn the most I can out of everything.
Okay.
What's necessary?
Yeah, absolutely. I know you said you wanted to fight 3 times, get another fight in before your 20th birthday, but that was a pretty amazing stretch for you. Only in the UFC, like October, December, January. In hindsight, again, do you feel like you put too much on your plate?
No, sir. I don't feel like I put too much on my plate. The only thing is I may have overrun my body just a little bit, maybe with the training, to be able to come down. I never get sick normally, but coming down with a sickness like this,
yeah.
Like I mentioned, having strep throat 3 times in 4 months, that's pretty crazy. And I wish I could show you a picture on my phone of my tonsils, or I don't know if you can really see my tonsils, but it's pretty gross. They have all this white stuff that's floating like the little pockets of my tonsils. So I might actually have to go get my tonsils removed.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty crazy. I'm gonna have to see how that works exactly, because that's really bad. So just coming off of that, if I would have been well, I would have been a different Sage out there. And then obviously just going up a weight class, that's obviously different. If I would have fought at 155, that could have been better. And just being a totally different me out there, being my normal self.
Have you thought about when you'd like to return? If you'd like to take an extended break now, what are you thinking?
Well, I am going to let this heal up
Yep.
for a little bit until it's strong. And I haven't really thought about it too much. I would like to go down to TriStar coming up soon, so probably within the next month, and then be able to figure out what I'm going to do with school at the same time. So train at TriStar long enough, get my technique, add the things I need to correct, make myself better in every way that's necessary, and then get a fight in when I can.
All right. Well, I feel bad making you talk so much, especially with your throat bothering you. So I will let you go, Sage. But again, kudos to you, my friend. A lot of people wouldn't come on and talk about a loss less than 48 hours later, especially with the pressure that you were under. I really respect you, and I really respect the way you handle yourself. You're an unbelievable young man, and you're a role model for a lot of people out there, and it's great that you don't let the negativity affect you. So keep your chin up, my man. Nothing to be ashamed of. You've done a heck of a lot at 19 years old, and I'm looking forward to seeing you grow into a tremendous fighter, especially going to a great team like that. Don't worry about it. Just let it go, move on, and you don't need me to tell you that, because you're doing a great job of dealing with it all. Appreciate you coming on. Get well soon, and we'll talk to you very soon. Looking forward to it as always.
Thanks, Mr. Helwani. I appreciate it.
You're the man.
Thank you.
There he is, Sage Northcutt, stopping by. Like I said, very rare to see anyone after a loss come on, let alone 48 hours later. Kudos to him. He is a special kind of kid, and he is just a kid, and it's important to remember that. And it's not that he has to play by different rules because he's 19, but that's just, especially now I'm 33 years old, looking at a 19-year-old kid who's, put himself out there, and he's taken all the good, so the bad comes with it as well. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, he is just 19 years old, and I don't think it's bad to say that 19-year-olds should be subjected to the different set of rules. It's a freaking kid. Took a fight on short notice on Fox. He was sick. Come on. I understand the vitriol from the fans. I understand you see a guy who's getting all this attention. He looks the way he does. He's so positive. Where's the catch? Where's the negativity? Where is it? It's nowhere to be found. It's crazy. In our world, we think, what? There's got to be a catch. There's got to be a catch. So he loses, and he loses in that fashion. I understand the fans reacting. The ones that disappoint me, and they have every right. You have every right to react the way you want to react. You could be jealous. It's fine. No one's telling you not. But the ones that disappointed me were the fellow fighters. You should be happy, especially if you're in his division. You should be happy that he's making the money that he's making. You should be happy that he's getting the attention that he's getting. A rising tide lifts all boats. Fighters need to stop thinking, certain guys are going to get pushed more. That's the fight game. And if you don't like it, give us a reason to push you more. Give us a reason to talk about you more. Give the UFC a reason to get behind you more. It's on you. It's not just about wins or losses. It's not. If you thought that was the case by now, you are sorely mistaken, and someone needs to wisen you up. You're seeing it more and more, guys getting out there and doing what they need to do to get fans emotionally invested in them. Sage, without even trying, did that. And he had a lot of help from the UFC. Absolutely. A ton of help from the UFC, and Dana White in particular. But look, the numbers speak for themselves. People are interested in him for whatever reason. Maybe because he appears to be superhuman. I don't know. And maybe that was the appeal of him losing the way he did. But for his fellow fighters to celebrate his demise, that to me was surprising. And maybe it shouldn't have been. Everyone's trying. There are guys who've been fighting for 10 years, dreaming about that spot, dreaming about that money. I think it's a bad look to openly celebrate that. Do whatever you got to do in the privacy of your home with your family and friends. But to openly celebrate someone's misstep is just a bad look. And to me, it it speaks more about you. It's not a good look. I thought he handled that very well. We'll talk about that a little more in the show. For now, let us go to our last guest of the day. You know, it's interesting. We go from the super young Sage Northcutt to a man who just called it quits. Nothing to be ashamed of as well. A great run in the UFC, as I said. One of my favorites to watch throughout the years. And a man who is waking up rather early to join us, which I appreciate greatly. It is around 7:09 a.m. Tuesday morning in Sydney, Australia. The Hippo, Anthony Perosh, is joining us right now. Anthony, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Looking forward to talking to you. So you announced last Sunday, not this past Sunday, last Sunday, that at 43 years young, you have decided to call it quits, that you're walking away from the sport of MMA. Why did you decide to do that now?
I'm like you said, I'm 43 years old, and the last, even last 2-3 years, a lot of interviewers ask me, when are you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And I always tell them, when one of three things happen, if my body can't keep up with the training, I'll give it away. If I lose more than I win, I'll give it away. And the last one is, if I don't want it mentally, if I don't 100% want it, I'll give it away. And this last camp in particular was really hard mentally, and just kept second guessing myself during training. Do I want it? Do I? Yes, I do. No, I don't. And I knew after I lost the last one that it was time to give it away.
And that was UFC 193 not that long ago against John Vellante. Did you know in the cage?
Yes.
That mid-morning, afternoon, it was on a Sunday, of course. Did you know right then and there that was it for you?
I halfway through the camp, about a month before, I said, I was telling myself.
Oh, did we lose you, Anthony? Are you there? Oh, okay. Let's shut that off. That's a nice sound. All right, we'll get Anthony back on. Coming off that loss to John Vellante, that's his second loss in the row in the UFC, second loss in a row, I should say, in the UFC. That was a first-round KO against John Vellante at 256. Prior to that, he had lost to Sean O'Connell. But this is a guy who some of you may forget, 6 years ago, almost exactly 6 years ago, at UFC 110, he took a fight on very short notice, just days' notice, against Mirko Krokop. That was in Sydney, and he took that fight at heavyweight, and Mirko was scheduled to be on the card. His opponent pulled out, and Anthony Perosh, veteran of the sport, at that time he was 10-5, got the call and stepped up on super short notice. And who would have thought that it would have continued for him in the UFC for 6 years? Probably he had some great ones. He had that 14-second knockout. Remember that one against Vinny Magalhães, the one in which Vinny said that he would retire if he lost. Of course, he didn't stick to that one. But we do have him on the phone right now. Anthony, you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Ariel.
No problem. So I was asking, I think that's when we cut off. Did you know right then in the cage that was it for you?
Yeah. About halfway through that camp, like a month before the fight, I told myself, mentally this was going to be my last match, and I was willing myself through that camp. Said, come on, Anthony, this is it. This is the last fight, last camp. Let's do this. And I was hoping to go out on the win, but it wasn't to be.
Oh wow! So even if you would have won, you would have called it quits.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was too much. Like that, the last camp was too much. Like I said before, second guessing myself, and in all my other fights, like it's either been, yep, I want this bad, and I'm here to win. But this last camp was just different for some reason, and I hated feeling like that. And I was desperately trying to think back to my past fights and past wins and how I felt like that. And I was trying to duplicate it and almost force it, but it just seems to make it worse sometimes. So I knew about a month before, like during the camp, that I was going to retire, win or lose.
In a sense, is that almost the the final confirmation. Like I've often thought, once a fighter commits to retiring, when you have that foot out the door, it's often in your best interest to not fight. Like in a way, did you almost think like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't fight this fight if I don't have it? If I'm even doubting myself for a second, that is a problem. Did you consider pulling out of that fight?
No, because not. When I say doubt, it was like I wanted to do the fight. I wanted to be my last fight, but I was more doubting about the future. That's kind of what I was thinking about, is doubting my longevity, in the UFC, in the sports, and I knew that, I hate doing things half-assed. So I wanted to make this a great show and best I could, and I went in for the win, but just didn't get it.
You've been fighting since 2003. Did you think that you would last this long? Like, did you feel like you were playing with the house's money here, fighting at 43 years old?
No, actually, I thought I was going to retire like about around 40-ish, but back around that time I had a couple of good wins in a row around that time. So I thought, no, I'm not going. I feel great and winning and going to keep going. So I never really had a time. I wasn't going to say I was going to retire after 10 years or 12 years or 15 years. It was just, when it was time, it was time. Like in terms of, for me, it was just mentally and it was time to retire. So
I've never actually had a chance to talk to you about this, but I love the story about you and UFC 110.
Yeah, sure.
Do you recall that? Like how many days was it? Was it less than a week? Was it 2 weeks? How many days out was it?
It was two days.
2 days.
2 days. I remember. Yeah, I was standing in the lobby. It was the day before weigh-in, and I was just hanging out in the lobby with the other fighters. And Joe Silva comes up to me and he looks me up and down. He goes, "Do you want to fight?" I went, "Yes, of course." He goes, "Do you want to fight Krokop?" I go, "No." And actually, I turned him down because on that card there were 3 Croatian fighters. I was born in Australia, but my parents are Croatian. So all the Croatian fighters are actually training at my gym. So Igor Pekajac, Relic, and Krokop, they all trained at my gym in those few days before UFC 110. And then, so I didn't want to fight Krokop. I considered him, a friend. But then about 2 hours later, I was just sitting around. I thought, what have I done? I've just turned down fighting on the first UFC show in Australia on pay-per-view in front of a sellout crowd against one of the top fighters in the world. And straight away I called Joe Silva back up, said, let's do it. I want to do it.
Wow.
And that's how it happened.
Did you think it was going to be one and done? Or did they tell you take this, this fight and all right, and then you can, get a full camp under it? Like, how were you taking it?
I asked Joe Silva the same thing, and before the Krokop fight, he made a four fight contract, and so the Krokop fight was the first one, and then the second one, UFC stuck to their word, and they gave me a full camp for my next fight in the light heavyweight division, and it was against another newbie, Tom Blackledge, myself, and so UFC stuck to their word, and I'm sure if I lost that fight, I would have been from the UFC, but I won that one and the next couple as well.
Yeah, and you went on a very nice streak. The thing that I always enjoyed about watching you fight is that typically, except for I think one time, the Bader fight, your fights ended. There was a finish either way, whether it was a submission. But some of them, let's be honest, some of them were like these spectacular finishes, whether it was you knocking out Vinny Magalhães or unfortunately you were on the receiving end. Were there any health concerns at any point, especially after the last two knockouts, about, given your age and everything, just taking blows like that to the head?
No, I guess that's everyone, other people too, have said, I'm glad you're retiring now. Don't end up like, other fighters out there. And, I'm retiring with all my with all my wits and healthy as, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and so it's good. Yeah. So to answer your question, no, I didn't have any. There wasn't any bad concussions after the day after the fight. It was just as like a normal day. So I was lucky there.
But you didn't ever worry about that?
No, not really. You just kind of take it as part of the sport, and you do as say, being 43, like my whole camp is scheduled. So I want to make sure I know what I'm doing every day, twice a day, what I'm doing during the classes and training, and you don't spar with them. I'm not getting punched in the head every day for 8 weeks in a camp. You spar once a week, twice a week, and and with full padded protection as well. So I make sure I take care of myself during training, because that's really actually where the damage is done, because a fight sometimes can last a short time or a long time, and I think the most damage is done at training.
Looking back now, what's your favorite moment in the UFC? I have my personal favorite. What's yours?
Well, I guess the first one is always my first win in the UFC. It was just such it was like a long time coming, and it was just such a massive relief and elation for me, my first win in the UFC. But I think a close second is me knocking out Vinny.
Was it because of all the stuff he was saying leading up to the fight?
Yeah, well, it definitely made the victory a lot sweeter. And back then, I was telling about how I felt mentally this last match, but a few years ago, and I was just 100% focused. There was no chance of me, in my mind, losing that match, and for him to say all that sort of thing, and just really made the win a lot sweeter.
Are you a little annoyed that he never stuck to his end of the deal and actually retired?
Well, I knew. Unfortunately, people run their mouth off a lot, before thinking about what they're going to say, and but at least the good thing was, he was released from the UFC. So for me, it's a win in my books.
Fair enough. So what does Anthony Perosh do now? What are your plans?
Now, I'm fortunate enough. I have two really big MMA BJJ schools here in Sydney, and I have about 650 students at the moment, across both schools. I've got a good team of about 20 MMA fighters, half pro, half amateur. So I'm hoping that my next goal, my next plan, I've had 12 fights in the UFC, but I'm hoping to be in the UFC another 25, 30 times. I'm hoping you see me a lot more of me, but this time, walking behind my students.
Sure. Any names we should look out for?
Not yet. They're all kind of newbies. So I think you'll probably see me in about 3 to 5 years time. I think, because they're all still around that 5-6 match mark.
Okay.
And they're getting to the top of the Australian division, and maybe just need a couple of international matches and get to about 10 matches. So no one yet.
What's the name? I hope it's called Team Hippo.
Oh, my nickname?
No, the name of the team.
Oh, no, my school's called SPMA, Sinisic Perosh Martial Arts.
Oh, so with Elvis Sinisic?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. He does some TV work, I know, in Australia. Are you interested in that as well with Fox Sports, I believe?
No, I have other goals myself, and a few other little side projects, but all martial arts related. But no, I'm not interested in that sort of thing.
Fair enough. All right. Well, again, it was a lot of fun to watch you compete, Anthony, and I like the fact that you're now, going to develop the team and hope to get in the UFC. By the way, last quick thing, and especially when it comes to being a gym owner, and I know Sydney and Melbourne are two very different places, and they're not that close. But did the boom of UFC 193 and what happened with Ronda Rousey and all that Have you noticed a trickle-down effect there? Like, I know the UFC has been successful in Australia. In fact, they're going to Brisbane not that long from now. But have you noticed an increase in interest? Did it go down? What's your take on it, where it stands right now?
Well, yeah, every UFC, you always get, that big spike. For example, the UFC was in November. So, that Monday after or that week after, I get a big spike in calls and emails saying, yeah, I want to be, Ronda Rousey or Holly Holm or one of the other fighters. And but definitely it's slowly coming up. But after every UFC, you always get that little increase. And then after every UFC, we always get more. So, for example, last year only getting a few, but now it's really a big increase.
All right. Anthony, wish you the best. Thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on a great career. I appreciate you waking up early. A lot of fun to watch you fight.
Thanks so much.
Sincerely always enjoyed it because you always knew you were going to get something memorable. You always brought in, it's always fun to watch some of the older fighters, keep going and fighting hard and whatnot. So I always appreciated your efforts inside the cage and wish you the best with the new team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks very much for the support.
All right, there he is, Anthony Perosh, stopping by from Sydney early there. And so I appreciate him waking up as well and jumping on the phone with us. All right, that does it for today's set of interviews. I do understand that there have been a slew of technical difficulties. So if you happen to be watching this live, I don't know if you can even watch it live at this point. I apologize for that. Typically when this sort of thing happens, the replay is all well and good, and we'll have that full thing up for you. The timing, I believe, was somewhat unfortunate given the fact that we had the big Benson news. But hey, these things are going to happen when you're streaming on the internet. We thank those who have been patient. We give a big one-finger salute to those who have not been so patient. Mr. Newkirk, are you there?
I'm here.
I don't feel like doing the y'all must have forgot.
Okay.
Because then I'm just going to pepper you guys with questions, and it's just going to make me more upset.
Sure.
So I'd rather go to the questions. So let's go to some questions.
Let's do it. Actually, let's take one beat for 1 second, and then we'll go to the questions.
Pause now for station identification.
Correct. All right, we're back.
It would be nice if we had an actual sponsor there. That would have been perfect. Actually get paid.
We are sponsored by nobody.
One day.
Okay, here we go. First question. Question of the day, obviously. What are your thoughts on Benson Henderson going to Bellator MMA? We've seen some fighters make the move to Bellator after the UFC 10 years, but do you think this will result in other top-ranked fighters making the same move?
I think this is the biggest signing as far as a UFC fighter going to a different organization since Dan Henderson signed with the UFC. Now, I'm not sure if it's bigger. It's really not that important. But the Dan Henderson one was very big, if you recall, because he had just knocked out Michael Bisping at UFC 100. So that was a massive stage. He was a coach on The Ultimate Fighter. And, of course, Pride legend, all that stuff. Had a nice run in the UFC as well, although he didn't become UFC champion. This is pretty damn big because here you have a guy in his prime who's a former WEC champion, who's a former UFC champion, who always rates well, whether it's on Fox or FS1. He's winning. In my opinion, he had the submission of the year last year, as you heard a couple weeks ago when we gave out our awards. Had a solid win over Masvidal. I think this is a fantastic signing by Bellator. You know, Bellator has been criticized for signing older guys, for being a little too pro wrestling-y, all that stuff. You can't say that about this one. There's nothing you could say about this one, in my opinion, negative, right? I mean, this is a guy who's a tremendous mixed martial artist, who's in his prime, who's winning, who's a former champion, who should be, you know, you can make a case that he should be on a longer winning streak because some people thought he deserved to beat Donald Cerrone. He's had some other victories like the Josh Thompson fight, like the Gilbert Melendez fight, where maybe he got the favorable call. But I've always enjoyed watching him fight, and now all of a sudden, I mean, Benson Henderson versus Will Brooks, to me, is the fight to make. Now, if they don't want to go into that right away because they have some options at 155, fine. If they want him to fight for the 170 belt first and then go down to 155 to make that one bigger and better, I get that. But just his presence is big for the promotion alone. And now you talk about the trickle-down effect. And now you talk about the snowball effect. And you talk about some other free agents being out there. And free agents, by the way, who are represented by the same people. He's represented by first-round management, Malkikawa and those guys. Aljamain Sterling falls under that umbrella. Alistair Overeem falls under that umbrella. And then there are other guys out there as well. There's Mitrione out there. And, there are more to come. Trust me, there are more to come. So now I feel like, okay, now fighters who are going to say, all right, well, let me see what's out there. And again, I hope people recognize that it's not an adversarial thing. I don't think it's an ungrateful thing. I mean, look at the way he said he did it perfectly. It's just about getting what you're worth. Dana White talks about it all the time, the small window. You got to get what you can get, especially if you're a parent, if you have kids, you have a wife, you have a husband. You got to get what you can get. And Benson played it perfectly. He rolled the dice. He went into this as a free agent, won big, and now hopefully he gets to reap the rewards. So there's not that much that you can hate about this. You could say that, it kind of sucks. We don't get to see him fight some of the top guys at 170. I was curious to see how far he goes at 170 in the UFC, at 155 as well, now that there's a new landscape, without a doubt. But I think competition is great for everyone. Like I said before, rising tide lifts all boats. This is good for the sport in general, not just for Bellator. I think it's good for everyone. It's healthy. So yeah, this is big. This is big. What do you think about it? Did I lose you?
Nope, we're here.
All right. What do you think about it?
Obviously, the implications are huge. It evens the playing field a little bit.
I don't think it completely evens it. I mean, but it's a step in that direction.
Yeah, it's a step in the direction to even the playing field.
Let me ask you this question. Are you surprised he signed with Bellator?
Without knowing, the financial implications of it, it's hard to, weigh in there just because his value may have been too great. Basically, the numbers may have worked out that his value to Bellator made sense and his value to the UFC didn't. So without knowing, hard numbers, it would be impossible for me to kind of say I'm surprised or not surprised. Without knowing numbers, everything financial aside, I would have thought that the UFC would have kept him. But again, his value is determined by the market, and if Bellator is willing to pay more than the UFC is for him, then we got what we saw.
It's just, to me, it's just so interesting now, this whole free agency thing. Like in the past, we could talk about all we want, but if there's no other option, then it just doesn't exist. And so him making that leap, for better or worse, it just opens that door a little bigger. Now it's like, ooh, if you're let's say Mitrione, you're like, oh, this is interesting. You know what I mean? So it now creates this back and forth to where we really didn't have it once Strikeforce went away. And that was a pretty good stretch. That's 5 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, we had this kind of momentum building toward this, and now the flag has been officially planted, where it felt like, okay, well, all these people were kind of using Bellator as leverage, that the fact that there's other organizations out there, and now we finally have a very, big name still in the sport decide that this is the spot for him. And it's a watershed moment.
I never felt like Bellator was a serious option in the Bjorn era. Like, I know this is probably their biggest one since Roger Huerta, but he was coming off losses and his stock, not a former champion and all that. But to me, what was hurting Bellator was the tournaments. Like a guy like Benson Henderson, is he really going to say, all right, I'm going to go in this tournament and have to fight 4 times before getting a title shot? Like, that felt like they reached a point where they were holding themselves back with the whole tournament thing. Now that they don't have that anymore and it's Coker and it's different, I think they've really opened themselves up. And you can maybe throw it the other way with the Reebok deal. Is the Reebok deal going to hurt the UFC in the long run? We'll find out.
Before we get to our next question, we have some guests in the studio.
Oh, yes.
Why don't we...
Maybe they're to blame for our technical issues.
Are they?
Technical. Usually, yes. I see the laugh. I hear the laugh. There he is.
Wait, you couldn't see him before?
I didn't see him at all. Oh, there's Esther. I can't really see my monitor. Hey, guys. Do you have headphones on?
They do.
Oh, you guys can weigh in as well.
What do you think about Benson?
I want to hear Casey weigh in.
Casey.
He's always very opinionated.
This is the mic.
What do you think? Wait, let me introduce who you are, because there are some people.
Is this your podcast?
This is my podcast. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's fitting that the one time you actually show up, the whole thing goes to shit. So I don't know if you brought this. This doesn't happen at SureDog. It's usually flawless at SureDog. But this is Casey, our videographer, does a tremendous job, who's been with me for many years. And there's Esther, all elbows, the more famous one of the couple, let's be honest. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hey, Ariel.
I actually wanted you in studio, but you turned me down.
What? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the stream issues.
Sure, right. Yeah, you can.
We have a level of.
You can subject yourself to this. Okay, what do you think? Benson Henderson, Bellator, your thoughts?
Yes. Awesome. I love it.
That's your thought?
Everything this man said.
It's a good thing you're in back of the camera.
We set that up, and we got,
Esther, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. Anything for more leverage towards the fighters.
Right. All right. That's
Fair
that. You did get that great photo of Benson talking to Sage.
I did.
Did you know that was coming?
No, I didn't. But when I saw it, I just hope that they were doing it long enough that I could focus.
Right. Yeah.
Most impressive in that photo is Benson's man bun, by far.
It was a nice man bun. I will say this. I didn't want to bring it up to ruin the good vibes, but it did seem like he sort of outscooped us, didn't it? Did he go on his website beforehand?
He did.
The hell is that all about? I've been sitting on this damn thing for like a week.
He
I found
couldn't
out
wait.
news on bloodyelbow.com.
Thanks.
Couldn't wait to
to
break it.
All right.
All right, let's get to our next one.
Yes. Riveting.
Heavyweight title shot. Who do you think should get the next heavyweight title shot? With Ben and Stipe both coming off impressive wins, feels like someone's unfortunately not going to get that shot. So who is going to get it?
I feel for Stipe because he was offered it. It was dangled in front of him. He agreed to it on short notice. I feel for him. I do think if we're looking at resumes and streaks and what has been accomplished, I side a little more towards Ben, but it's kind of like 6 and 1, half dozen the other. I just think like submitting Barnett the way he did, submitting Mitrione the way he did, that is just, I mean, it's just especially the Barnett one. That to me is mind blowing. I echo everything Dave Meltzer said. But Stipe's coming off a great knockout, and he's looked good as of late. I think he actually deserved to beat JDS, even though it's officially a loss. So if they want to go that route, I'm cool with it. If they want to go to the Ben route, I'm cool with it. The only problem is the Kane factor. I just think that they're going to have a hard time selling that rematch. And I think that unfortunately for him, he doesn't lose, but he's kind of losing here because he got injured. I think he's going to have to go just one step down, not back, bottom of the ladder. One step down, get a win, build himself up. Hopefully the surgery goes well and it's, not too serious and all that. I don't love the problem with all this. I don't love Kane versus Rothwell.
What?
You like that?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Why is that awesome? We saw it already. And I know it's a different time, but I don't know. I want to see something fresh.
No, that was a long time ago.
So
feels like he's new. He dances better. He's sexier.
Yeah.
I like it. It's good.
He was a much different fighter. I think that was his UFC debut, UFC 104 in
That
2009.
was actually
The
our
first time, yep.
debut.
That was our debut.
That was our first date.
That was our first date. Los Angeles, 2009. That was so long ago that the prelims, remember Chael Sonnen fought Yushin Okami on the untelevised prelims. Wasn't even on Spike TV. That card was the birth of the Chael Sonnen persona. By the way, congratulations to him for the Celebrity Apprentice deal. But that's how long ago that was. And that was only 6 years ago, maybe 5.5. Isn't that crazy? That there were untelevised prelims. No Facebook, no MySpace, no Fight Pass, no Friendster, nothing. Untelevised. Chael Sonnen, Yushin Okami, arguably top 5 middleweights fighting, and they were not shown anywhere. Crazy. Unbelievable. Anyway, all right, so what do you think, New York Rick?
Yeah, I think that, man, it's tough because I feel like Stipe struck first, which I think oftentimes matters a little bit more. Even though if I was grading them, I'd say beating Josh Barnett that way is probably more impressive. And overall, having the win over Overeem matters as well. But I think Stipe's timing is going to work in his favor. I think being first is going to be the difference here.
And the other thing is, I often felt like leading up to this fight, no one was talking about Rothwell. Like, he needed to do something like this to nudge his way into the conversation. It felt like people forgot about the Overeem fight. Maybe because Overeem just had a nice win over JDS. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Like, he wasn't getting any of that attention. It had been a while since he fought. It was June. He was supposed to fight in October, if you recall. Rothwell-Stipe is a fun fight.
Sure.
Right? Imagine if they did that one. If Werdum's back is bad, I wouldn't hate that one either. But then you also kind of cancel one out, so I don't know. Maybe that's the way to go.
That was already booked, right?
That was already booked for Dublin.
Just grab the contract, change the date, and it's done.
Yeah.
They're both healthy. That's how it works, right?
That is how it works. That's right. I think Stipe. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel bad for Stipe. It's as we talked about last week. It's a tough spot to be in, but it's actually a good thing. Like the UFC's heavyweight division is probably more interesting now than it's been in a long time. The one thing that they have to work on is just getting people to care. Like that Nate Diaz Anthony Pettis fight that they talked about. It was a real thing to save the day for the now former 196. I think that would have sold more pay-per-views than Werdum versus Stipe. And that feels like a problem when you're talking about the heavyweight title.
Hold on one second. Our next question. John Jones at heavyweight. Recently, John Jones tweeted that he likely has 3 fights left at light heavyweight by this time next year when he moves up. This is assuming that he sticks by that. Will there be anyone left at heavyweight to even make it exciting for him, considering the age and steady decline of the current heavyweight crop? Seems like heavyweight marketability is at an all-time low.
I don't know. I don't like this whole 3 fight. It's sort of like Benson with his I'm going to retire at 33 thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's a lot of stuff that can happen in 3 fights. I do think he's going to fight a heavyweight at some point, and I do think it was a real thing that he was throwing his name in the hat. I do think he threw out some. To me, it was a great PR move on his part. The guy who killed 151 is now offering to save 196. And he's getting back in the good graces of the UFC. I thought it was brilliant. And it's something that he didn't do in the past, and there was a very small chance of it happening. I mean, why in the world would Stipe Miocic versus John Jones be for a title? Didn't really make a lot of sense. But I love the fact that he did it. It was great. And I would love to see that fight, too, from a Styles matchup. I think it's a great fight as well. But I want to see the DC fight, and I want to see the Rumble fight. So I'm not quite ready to commit to John Jones at heavyweight.
I think there is something to the idea that by the time he does go up to heavyweight, we're going to be looking at a different crop. But maybe it'll be better. Maybe there'll be some new heavyweight that's on the horizon that we're not ready for. Or maybe Ben Rothwell will be like reigning champion by that point. We don't know how it's going to look.
What about this press release from Bellator? Bellator's new signing broke the internet this morning.
Oh, boy.
They said
Oh, boy.
the signing was scheduled to be announced today on the MMA Hour, which is hosted by 6-time MMA Journalist of the Year. Maybe they know something that I don't because it's only 5-time. Ariel Helwani. When news of the signing broke earlier than anticipated, the flood of traffic to the website may have been responsible for technical difficulties causing some of the interview to not stream live. However, the interview will be available in its entirety this afternoon at MMAfighting.com. Wow, we've come a long way from them calling me a UFC reporter, and I'm going to go with that excuse. I'm going to say that Benson broke the internet.
Hey, you're off the hook.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that one. Well, congratulations on your 6th award.
Thank you.
Hopefully the MMA Hour wins. Hopefully they're disregarding this. And, yeah.
Great technical advice from our friend Joe Daddy in Houston.
What's he saying?
He's telling Casey, who is a videographer and should know better, to get closer to the mic. He's right.
You know.
And also, happy birthday. I forgot about this. It's your birthday. Right? Today?
Yes.
Is today your birthday?
Yes, it is, sir.
Wow.
Me and Ronda Rousey, apparently.
Wow.
The UFC didn't tweet that out, just the Ronda part, but yeah. I mean, I've been at more UFCs than Ronda has, but whatever.
That is true. That's another good point. How old are we today?
38.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Thanks, sir.
All right, our next question. Esther, did you have anything on that one?
No.
Great. Hey, no, happy birthday.
Our next one. Sage Northcutt haters. I think everybody will have something to say on this. What did you make of the majority of fighters celebrating the loss of Sage Northcutt on Twitter? I thought it was pretty weak considering the guy is 19 and jumped on a deal that anyone would have in the UFC.
This is our...
the happy birthday song.
Yes. Strawberry Shortcake. Dutch. You know this video has 46,000 views?
Yeah.
In large part due to Alistair Overeem.
For sure, it's half of that.
Well, if you go to the comments on YouTube, it's all about Overeem.
How many of them mentioned the iPad, though?
Do any of them? I haven't looked in a while. Oh, haha, funny that Overeem gets this video from Ariel Helwani. Okay. I'm just going to keep it in the background. Well, I sort of weighed in on this, so I want to hear your take, and then I'll react to your take. Because you think that I'm actually being a little bit of a white knight, as you put it.
I do.
Yes, please.
I think that the idea that because he's 19, he should get some kind of pass is kind of soft.
Fair enough.
Him being 19 or 38, like our friend Casey over here, celebrating his birthday, shouldn't be relevant whether we're going to critique him. Now, if you're going to revel and celebrate his loss as if it somehow benefits your life and that's something that impacted you, that's where I'd take exception, and that's where I'd draw the line. I wouldn't personally do it, but the idea that because he's young and because he's respectful and because he's 19 that we shouldn't be able to criticize him, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
I don't know if that's the real story here. I think it's part of the story, and
it seems like when you tweeted it, you said it. This guy's mentioning it in the question. The idea that he's 19 to me is irrelevant.
Really?
Because of course, completely irrelevant.
You don't think a 19-year-old should be held to different standards than, say, a 30-year-old?
If he wants to be in the UFC and held to the same standard as the other fighters, then...
But not all fighters are at the same spot. They may be, they may be all in the main card or whatever,
right.
But they're not...
He's at an elevated spot, higher than those that are below him and have the gripe with him and are the ones that are assaulting him on Twitter and attacking him on Twitter. So
you have no problem with fellow fighters celebrating his loss, openly, like mocking him and saying, "Oh, like a TJ Grant," or you see, this is what was most interesting about the whole situation. The fighters who are comfortable in their place in the UFC, who have either made a great living, who are champions, who are former champions, who are at the top. If you notice, they were all offering words of advice. They're comfortable with who they are. The youngsters, the guys in the middle, the ones who are trying to make a name for themselves, they're the ones who are jealous. And I understand why they're jealous, and they have every right to be jealous. That's fine. But to go out publicly and laugh at him and mock him, that to me is just a bad look. Like, you're not going to gain any new fans by doing that. It's just, what is that? Who celebrates a peer's demise, misstep? It's just such a bad look.
Is the instance of this unprecedented? I don't think so. I think there have been many times where fighters have lost in any certain way and been mocked.
This one was up there. I mean, the Ronda one.
Ronda,
but Ronda one's different because Ronda, she rubbed people the wrong way. There's no doubt about that, and she didn't handle it well, in my opinion. She didn't show up on anyone's show 24 hours, 48 hours later. Okay, what did this guy do? He shakes everyone's hand. He calls everyone Mr. or Mrs. He doesn't say a bad word about a single person. The worst thing that he said was maybe you should have something else to offer. That's the big thing that everyone's jumping on. That of all things, come on. I just think that I get it. I'm not naive to it, but here's a kid who was given a great opportunity, who has a different kind of look, who has a different kind of fighting style, who is just kind of different personality. He's a breath of fresh air, and you're going to laugh at him for losing? I just think you're the one who ends up losing in that case.
Interrupt here.
Please.
I think that the animosity is misdirected. I really think it should be, if you're upset about how much you're getting paid or how Sage is getting paid, you should be upset with the UFC for underpaying all the other fighters, not overpaying Sage.
Right. And maybe that's the underlying sentiment here. Maybe that's where everyone's coming from. And I think, let's not be naive, it's probably that. They just don't want to go, haha, Dana White, because he's the one signing his checks or her checks. You know what I mean? Well, so it's easier to make fun of Sage in this case than to make fun of your employer. I get that.
While we're pointing out, how people went out of their way to make fun of him, we're also pointing out how we're not pointing out, but it's very evident how so many people are going out of their way to defend him.
It's a beautiful thing. I love it. Thankfully, finally.
It's the give and take of it. He came into the UFC at a different point than a lot of other fighters have been afforded the opportunity, and that comes with increased scrutiny. Now, the idea, as I said, celebrating somebody's loss, that's not my forte. That's not something I necessarily think is the way to handle it. But you have to accept that as a reality of his position in the UFC currently. And
here's what's super interesting to me. Because of his age, I think it compelled the Cerrones and the Weidmans of the world to say what they said about him. And what I mean by that is when Fabricio Werdum at 38 years old pulled out of his fight, you didn't see that many champions saying, you know what, I would have done the same thing.
Right.
You saw people actually saying no one's coming to his defense. That's MMA. No one sticks up for anyone. And so I feel like because these guys are so much older, because he is 19, some people with a good heart said, I'm going to try to uplift him. I'm going to try to send some good vibes his way. Do you get what I'm saying? So the 19 thing actually plays a big factor in all this.
I do, and I think, let's say he loses again and Ronda loses again. I think Ronda will take a lot more heat. I think it'll be, she's done, she was never any good. And I think Sage will be, well, this one's over with, he's 19, he'll get it back. And I think part of that is also his personality, the fact that he's not kind of hiding from the defeat. Now, I don't know how I feel about him saying, I don't want to make excuses and then going into being ill. Certainly, I take him at his word, and I believe he was sick. It seems that there's so many people that can corroborate this story. But I don't know if that's what I would have led with after saying I don't want to, make excuses.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot. If you're going to do the interview, it's going to come out, So obviously, I'm happy he came on the show. I'm happy he talked to us. I'm asking him these questions. It's not like he put out a press release or something and did it himself. He actually sent me the picture of his lungs. And I'm no doctor, but it does seem like a lot of gross things in this picture. So I know what people are going to say, and I see it already. Like, oh, look at you making excuses. No, I'm the one who asked him these questions. I'm the one who asked him to come on the show. He didn't ask me to come on the show. He didn't come out with this first. And that's the fight game. Things are going to happen. And oh, by the way, it wasn't like he said I had a bad foot, right?
Yeah.
What he was dealing with actually now makes the submission, now makes all the sense in the world.
Sure, it directly affects
that
thing that he was talking about.
So I don't know. The whole thing just made me feel a little weird. And yeah, maybe I'm guilty. Like I see his kid who has been nice to everyone, and it just kind of felt a little, it felt a little icky because of his age. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I think Esther is 100% right. It's people who are upset at the UFC for pushing him. But again, all we talk about is they don't create enough stars. They don't push people. So they're finally pushing people. And then people are rooting for the people that they're pushing to lose. You know what I mean? That seems counterproductive in this whole thing. Like, if there are stars like Sage and Paige, and if those stars exist, that's good for MMA. We need those stars to make the sport bigger. So stop rooting for them to fail. Just hope that you could come along for the ride and then beat them and get bigger yourself. Don't root for them to lose to other people on a random Saturday night. It doesn't affect you at all. All those people don't gain a single thing by the fact that Sage lost.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Last word from the birthday boy?
Yes.
Oh, I got nothing.
Got nothing.
Awesome. Go ahead.
I didn't watch any of this Sage thing because the stream was down.
So.
Oh, come on. Eye pokes. Once again, eye pokes are part of the narrative on the Fox show. What can referees do that will be more forceful to stop these things from happening, but without it being too costly for the fighter involved? Should fighters be warned once for not closing their hands? And then even if they don't actually poke an eye, should they be penalized for not keeping the fingers retracted? As in, so they don't even actually have to stop the fight or poke anybody. Let's say they get another, the fingers are out again, then at that point they can take a point. Thankfully, nobody has been blinded in the UFC yet, but something has to be done in my opinion. So what do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's the same thing that we brought up before. I think it's, you give them the warning in the locker room, you do it once, you get a point taken away. It's pretty cut and dry. It keeps happening.
How do you feel about the idea of even if your hands are extended, kind of enforcing something there? Not the actual action of poking the eye, but extending it after you've been warned.
Oh, man. And you get a point taken away from that? I mean, that's not exactly illegal.
You're the one who's the harshest on this. I would say
that if you actually poke someone in the eye, I mean, like if you want to play that game and skirt the fine, that's okay. But once you poke someone, then boom. That's point.
Fair. That's fair.
I mean, you can play that game all you want, but as long as you don't cross the line.
Yeah, I agree. If you're got your hand, you're defending with one hand out like that, and as soon as that touches an eyeball, point deduction, and then next week there are no more eye pokes. That's all.
What do you mean next week?
Well, I mean the next following Saturday. Once the Reebok stuff. Like they gave all these crazy fines for the all the Reebok
I
stuff.
understand. Yep.
And then the following week,
of course.
Doing it.
If they went in the locker room and told the fighters, the second you poke someone in the eye, a point will be deducted. There's going to be accidentals. There's no doubt about it because that's just the nature of the game. The fingers are out, but we'll see way less. 100%. People will think twice about it.
Yeah, especially when they're standing. I think in scrambles, there's going to be some eye poking and accident.
Yeah.
I think those can accident, but especially in the standing part. Yeah, it's easy.
It's time. I mean, it makes all the sense of the world. It's at the way it is now, it pays to do it. Like even someone like Ryan Bader, right? When he was in that tough spot on the ground, if he would have poked Anthony Johnson in the eye, he wouldn't have lost a point. But Anthony Johnson would have had to, stop doing what he's doing. You know what I mean? At this point, it actually pays to cheat. and that's messed up.
I get your point. I don't know if I agree with that. I think if Bader was mounted and turned around and poked him in the eye, I think
No.
Probably...
You know, like when he was going for the Kimura and there was this little scramble on the ground after the failed takedown attempt. Like if something, or he would have got nailed in the balls. I don't know. Yeah. But you know what I mean? The action would have stopped. I can almost assure you, a point would have been taken away.
Yeah, cheating pays for now. Cheating
That's
pays
crazy.
For now. Speaking of Bader, good segue. It seems like he's at a dead end in the light heavyweight division and doesn't have the staying power of a Benavidez or Misha Tate. I don't know if I agree with that, but let's just say he's in a similar position to them.
I think he's a bigger name than Benavidez.
What do you think should be his next move?
I mean, I think, look, he lost to a great fighter. He was on a 5-fight winning streak. It seems like he can't get past that 5-fight winning streak. The last time he had a 5-fight winning streak, he lost to John Jones, who then became the light heavyweight champion less than 2 months later. I don't think he needs to retire. I think he made a really big mistake. And I can assure you he probably wishes he had that back. I think that, look, I'm no fighter. I don't like to give advice. But usually, I was talking to Cormier about this yesterday on the phone, and he agreed 100%, so I feel comfortable enough saying it. I mean, you can't just shoot in right away. And I also think that Johnson's takedown defense is actually quite underrated. I think people like to make a big deal about his takedown defense. It's not that bad. It's really not that bad. I'd say it's better than not that bad. You got to set it up. You got to mix it up. You got to give him something else to look at and to worry about and then go for the shot. So, I don't know. Maybe the moment got to him. I don't know what it is. But, that was a big mistake. The fight would not have ended that quickly if he had done what he did against the likes of Rashad Evans. He had grown comfortable on his feet. So I don't know why he went away from that all of a sudden.
Yeah, Rumble's never had bad takedown defense. It's that, after the first round, his takedown defense gets a little worse, then the second round a little worse, then the third round a little worse. But I don't know if shooting on him that quickly was the right strategy now.
But I feel like
hindsight's easy, but
I feel like if he would have stood up in the first minute, got knocked out, we'd be saying the opposite. We'd be like, "Oh, why didn't you shoot on him?"
Exactly.
That's the way to beat him.
Fair enough, but right out of the gate, like boom, just like that. I mean, look, it worked for BJ Penn against John Fitch, but I don't think that people were expecting that out of BJ. Like I think that there is something to doing that right off the bat, but I also think that Rumble actually has pretty good like that was a big thing that he kept talking about at the scrum on Thursday, and I didn't understand it.
I think statistically, I looked this up before. I think he has similar takedown defense to Ryan Bader. So it's not like it was some kind of wrestler versus striker matchup. They're pretty similar in the sense that they can both keep it standing and both have big power. Although Bader's been a little more measured and focusing more on combinations than that one power shot like he used to.
And so also, I will add that I think business-wise for the UFC, a lot of people want to see Rumble versus John Jones. I think more people would be into the DC fight, especially because that fight was put together on short notice, and he did rock him in the first round. I think business-wise for the UFC, this was probably the better result.
All right, we got to get these two out of here pretty soon.
Okay.
So we're going to take a quick break. Not in the show. We're just going to take a break from the questions in this moment.
Okay.
To bring over.
Yes. Oh, what do we got?
We got a presentation for
do we have
Casey.
Cake?
Oh,
Woo,
yes, we do.
Look at that.
What kind of cake is this?
Yeah, what kind of cake?
Crepe cake.
Green tea crepe cake.
Green tea crepe cake. Never heard of such a thing.
Because I'm Asian.
It's because of magic.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I can say that.
What's it taste like?
I don't know, Casey. Why don't you just lick it?
Do we got any candles? Anything? Nothing. No candles?
Can you play the birthday song at
least?
Yes,
something.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to you. Can
yes,
you put
yes.
on the
happy? I mean, at this point, we probably have like five people watching.
Will you sing for me? You sing for everyone else.
No.
Really?
Wait
a minute.
I don't sing on demand. There it is. Oh wait, there's my show. Maybe it is working all of a sudden. The stream. There it is. But no, not even a single candle. There he is. EKC.
It's a small cake. We can't fit that many candles on there.
Diving in. 38 years young. Wow. Look at him now. He broke it.
The review is in.
Tastes like green tea and
green tea. What a strange combo,
green tea and
but an intriguing one. Now, where are we off to? You guys are going to Las Vegas or are you going home?
Going home for a day. Then we fly out to Vegas tomorrow night to see you again.
For the big UFC Fight Night 82 card.
I'm excited about that. It's a fight night.
Yes, it's big in Las Vegas.
The co-main event. It's awesome.
What, Jared Rosholt? See, this is my take on the co-main event. If I can, like, if Bruce Buffer says co-main event of the evening, that's just not right. Right? I mean, not every card has a co-main event. Right? Am I not right?
I disagree with this.
Now for the last fight of the night.
Wait, you disagree? No, just say up next. Wait, you disagree? You think that he should call that the co-main event?
You should call it, if it's the second from
Why?
the top, gotta be the co-main event.
Not every look. Weidman Rockhold, that was a co-main event. That means, look, if well, this is a weird case, but like if Hendricks Thompson falls through, is
well,
Rochelt?
So there's no main event?
But I mean, that's
Wait
just
a minute.
that's just a process of elimination.
Tell me the answer.
Is there no main event? Means
if
that
it falls off?
The co-main event to me means that co-main event means that if this second to last fight was just alone as it's that good, this could pass as a main event, and not every card has that. So why should they all be co-main events?
Because the main event is done the same way. The co-main event should be done the same way.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Anyway.
Is there a card without a people's main event? Has that happened?
No, of course not. There's always a people's main event.
There's always a co-main event. Always.
This is a very tricky one. Is Mickey Gall the people's main event? Because I mean, this is a guy literally plucked out of obscurity. Or is it Artem?
I don't know if it's Mickey Gall. It might be Mike Jackson.
Well, I mean, the people's main event takes two to tango.
Yeah, there's two in there.
Sure. Although it's a little weird that Mike Jackson is not playing by the same set of rules. Houston's own Mike Jackson, I might add.
Yeah, Houston's own.
But you know what I mean? It's like, why is the stipulation just for Mickey? What if Mike Jackson wins and we have to go through this whole thing all over again?
I think he can make himself a case if he wins and say, I want that shot. I mean, all it took was Mickey Gall saying it once and he got the shot.
Can I just say this? I think it's a mistake. It's a mistake having CM Punk in attendance for that fight. Like, to have him sit there feels like he's a trophy. You know, a trophy for like a prelim.
Yeah, but is that so far from what it is? I mean, he's a lottery ticket for these guys.
It's just a little weird.
All right, one more before they take off.
Okay. Wow, you're really teasing this. Here we go. It's like the whole thing. Actually, it seems like the stream is pretty good now.
Yeah, come on.
I fixed it.
Casey fixed it.
Thank God.
Tarek Safadine, Jake Ellenberger. It was great to see Tarek finally making a comeback after an injury layoff. What do you think should be next for him following his win? Conversely, Ellenberger has now lost 5 of his last 6 fights. Do you think we've seen the end of his UFC run?
Well, I'm going to talk about Tarek first. Actually, this never aired. I don't think it aired on the post-fight show. I interviewed him for Fox Sports, and he actually almost didn't make it to the fight, believe it or not. At the 11th hour, they realized that he didn't have the right visa or it had expired. Something strange going on because, you know, he's from Belgium, but he was in Canada at TriStar preparing. He had to fly back to Europe to get a different kind of visa and then fly back to Montreal and then fly to Newark. Now, I know Newark and Montreal are close, but he actually said he was very close to having to pull out of the fight, and the UFC's lawyers helped him out with that. So, wow, what a tragedy that would have been, right? This is a guy who hadn't fought since October of 2014, and he would have had to pull out for something crazy like that. Not injury related, and he's been hit with injuries. Nice win for him. I thought he deserved to win. Good to see him back. I still think he's somewhat of a player at 170. It just feels to me like Ellenberger, there's something missing there. I don't know what it is. I won't ask you because I know you didn't watch the card.
I did, actually.
No, you didn't.
I did, actually.
When did you watch it?
I have it on my DVR, and I watched it after I got home from family activities.
What was so important that made you miss UFC on Fox 18?
A baby shower, welcoming life into this world. How about that?
Nighttime baby shower? Never heard of such a thing.
That was in the afternoon, and then we went out with the family after.
I mean, you could have said, you know what? I need to watch this card. I'm on a live national broadcast, breaking it down afterwards. My thoughts will be welcomed.
Yeah, I could have said that, but I have a family.
So what did you think?
First of all, that would have been a damn shame if that fight didn't happen because of, you know, issues outside of injuries. I mean, he obviously, Tarek looked like, you know, I wouldn't say he looked as good as he did before he left, but, you know, in terms of the skill set and what he was still bringing, he looked like Tarek Safadine just a little bit. He needs to shake the rust off. But as far as following the game plan, being tough as nails, I mean, Ellenberger landed a few clean shots on him. It was still there. The package is still there, and I'm still, you know, excited to see what Tarek has coming up. And as far as Ellenberger goes, that I agree with you. I don't think he's been the same since he went on this kind of losing streak. And I'm not sure what it is. He's changed camps.
Yeah.
And
you know what? I really didn't pay attention. I don't know if you guys saw Casey or Eric or Esther when she gets back in there. Who was in his corner this time?
I forgot his name. His striking coach. He teaches. He's a boxing coach in downtown LA at this place called Strong Sport Gym. It's a really good gym. I mean, I go to there a couple times to do Muay Thai.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
That sounded like another media member pumping up his I Train UFC skills.
Well, I'm just...
Also, I think Kenny was in his corner, right? Wasn't Kenny in his corner, the wrestling coach?
Was he?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
I just know that this boxing guy. He's not.
But it wasn't
with
Edmund.
No,
it wasn't Edmund.
And he wasn't with Edmund for the last fight either.
Right. Yeah. Well. I'm curious to see. I mean, they just released a couple of guys. Actually, they released like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
At least those are the ones that came out. People get released all the time, and some of them just don't get noticed or reported. The notable ones: Danny Castillo and Mike Pierce. So that is the lightweight division. Actually, this is welterweight. What the hell am I talking about? Anyway, yeah.
You watch fights?
No, I don't. Okay. Tough spot for him, but good for Tarek Safadine.
Okay, Jake should still be around. He still hasn't lost to a guy outside the top 10 until you do that. Like you're losing to those guys.
Sure.
I don't know. I still think he's just losing to the top guys. Maybe he's just a top 15 and not a top 10.
It would be. I have no problem with those guys who are like in title contention, then going all the way to the bottom and seeing them get built up. I think that's actually kind of interesting. That's why I feel like tangent, but the Sage thing. Like I'm still super interested to steal his nickname in his like. To me, seeing how a guy rebounds is just as interesting as a guy in a winning streak. They both have their interesting qualities to me. And so for Ellenberger, if you put him like, let's say there's 50 welterweights. I don't know what the number is, but let's say there's 50. If you put him up against like number 47, to me, that's interesting too. Can he make that climb? Because I think that the UFC has become its own farm system. Really, that's the case. Like there's 500 fighters under contract for the UFC. Anyone who says like, oh, that's what Mickey Gall doesn't deserve to be there. No, the fact that Mickey Gall or any other fighter who's 5-0 or 2-0 or 3-0 is on the UFC roster doesn't take away from whoever's in the main event. So they've become their own farm system. So just put them back down and build them up. You don't have to give them away. You've invested a lot in a guy like Jake Ellenberger. He's been in main events. You don't have to give him away to someone else. Now, if you have, space that is needed and you need to get rid of him, you don't see a future, fine. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that as well. They don't always have to fight top 10.
He certainly has not gotten that step down. Everybody he's faced has been tough.
Yeah.
Ellenberger versus the loser of Gall versus Jackson.
Nah, see, I wouldn't do that.
That's a little crazy.
Okay. How much do you...
If you're going to be on the show, you have to actually...
They're UFC fighters.
How much do you think the change of Hendricks and Wonderboy to 5 rounds, previously 3 rounds, will affect the fight? Hendricks can barely... this is commentary that may be unnecessary. Hendricks can barely fight past the 3rd round. That means Wonderboy will have a much better chance. But how do you think that will affect the fight?
Well, contrary to what had been reported, the Wonderboy camp, and in particular his father, really wanted this to be 5 rounds. And it's obvious why. They want to test his cardio. And look, let's not forget, Johnny Hendricks has been in 5-round fights. In fact, he's been in many more than Wonderboy. Wonderboy, in my opinion, was scheduled for just one against Ellenberger, and that didn't go 5 rounds, so it didn't really matter. But he's been in there against Lawler twice. He's at GSP. So I think people are hanging their hat on, or at least his camp, that the weight cut's going to be a problem and all that. But by all accounts, what his manager is telling me, pictures, all that stuff, that he's figured it out. So let's see. He's doing it on his own. Dolce's not with him, and that's sometimes a little tricky. I can understand why Wonderboy has never had a problem with that. So I think, but I do think a little too much is being made of it. Let's not forget, this guy is a former champion. He's been in 5-round fights before.
Yeah, I don't think this will drastically change the fight. I think.
And also, don't forget, he won a 5-round fight in the final minute. Like that fight against Robbie Lawler went down to the final minute of the final round.
You could make a legitimate case that he beat GSP over 5 rounds and beat Lawler twice over 5 rounds.
Twice. Good point.
So,
yeah, you 181.
I don't think the idea that Johnny Hendricks can't fight 5 rounds is accurate. That said, I would think it would favor Wonderboy, but I don't think that that's necessarily just, not only that, but just because even though Hendricks can get through 5 rounds, he is going to fade a little bit. He's stocky. He throws a lot of heat in the first couple of rounds. And he kind of relies on the wrestling more and more as the fight goes on, because his stand-up is getting a little more sluggish. And I think Wonder Boy will probably be fresher if it goes to 5 rounds, but I don't think it'll drastically change this fight.
Did you want to say something, Casey?
Oh, we got to go. We got to catch the fight.
Oh, okay. Peace out.
All right, man.
Are we
Thank
holding
you
you
for
up?
coming on the show, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry for holding you up. It sounded like you're a little upset there. Thank you for coming. Happy birthday. Great to see
He
you.
graciously gave us some cake.
Oh, yes. I'll have that after.
Eat it now.
Well, no one wants to see someone eat on television. I learned that when I did my preview show with Mark Ramundi. Safe travels. Thank you for coming. I'll see you in a couple days.
All right.
There they are, the dynamic duo known as Casey and Esther. All right, what else we got?
Okay. Team Apple. Team Alpha Male. What in the world is going on with the team? I know you have some nuggets for us. Lots of strange tweets lately. What do you got on Team Alpha Male?
Okay, can I just say that one of my least favorite storylines going on right now is these tweets from the maybe members, not so members, sometimes members of Team Alpha Male. I mean, what's going on? Do they feel a little passive aggressive to you with the emojis and the sub? You know, there's like the subcontext to them. I don't know what's going on, but like, can we just come out and say where we stand? If we do stand, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. You're saying it's subtweeting. You want to see the real deal. You want to see them saying,
tell me what's going on.
This is where I'm standing. This is my camp. But I think it's, imagine you're in their position. I think it's a very difficult kind of thing to navigate.
Well, look, do what's best for you.
Yeah, but we've seen how the results of that go. Every time TJ Dillashaw opens his mouth or on social media posts something, we've got 1,000 snake emojis posted.
Well, should those guys get that same treatment? I don't think so. I don't think it's fair that he gets it to begin with, but we know why. I think that team is probably in a. By the way, I don't really have the scoop, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Team Alpha Male is looking for a coach. There's obviously a state of transition going on. TJ Dillashaw is a good friend of those guys. He's had success with those guys. They've had success with those guys, and in particular, I'm talking about Bang Ludwig. For Joseph Benavidez to go where he's had great success, Colorado with Bang, before this fight, and then also to split some time with arguably the best team in the world in Albuquerque, that's nothing but smart. Sometimes you have to evolve. He hasn't, reached title status. He got super close twice. You have to evolve in this game. And that takes guts. That takes confidence. So he's doing what he has to do. And that's pretty much it. But if this is I don't know. And I know they probably get a lot of crap because it's a byproduct of the whole TJ thing. But it just feels like there's a lot of code reading that needs to be done. And then in turn, like Muscle Farm will send out a picture, welcome to the team. And then I'll ask Lance Palmer about it. And he's like, no, that was worded incorrectly. We're still part of the team. I'm like, what the heck is going on? How could you allow them to tweet something like that and then not even take it down? It's just, the Muscle Farm people know what they're doing in all of this. Let's be honest. They all know what they're doing.
I think that's one of the downsides of social media, though, is that a lot of times things are coming out before they're ready to come out. We see this all the time, where because we have this instantaneous method for breaking news and giving people information, there's this push to do it quickly, and sometimes it's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe this is stuff that's not supposed to be coming out, and it's not supposed to seem so murky. Maybe it's just control of that. But
they're under a finer microscope these days because let's see what happens in this fight. He's fighting Zach Makovsky this weekend. If he loses, everyone's going to say, oh, you turn your back on your team. If he wins, people are going to say, oh, look, the new team is better. It's drama. Believe it or not, I don't like this drama. This drama has been going on way too long. I know some people think that I love the drama, but this is the kind of drama that I feel like has run its course. But hey, also, it's their life. Maybe it is actually, dragging on, and they want to figure it out as well. Who knows?
This question is about helping retired fighters. I'm going to expand the scope a little bit after I read it. Hi, guys. With all the improvements to professionalism in the UFC and MMA in general, do you think the next step is to make sure fighters are prepared and looked after in retirement? I ask this now as a UK fan who sadly watched an ill-aging Frank Bruno be interviewed today saying he wanted to return to the ring at 54. When fighters give their bodies and health to a sport or company, do you think that the fight organization or athletic commission has a moral duty to look after them when they exit the ring or cage? You were talking a little bit earlier about fighters not looking out for each other and being in it for themselves. Let's expand this from, the organizations looking after them in retirement to looking at to the fighters looking after themselves as well in the form of a union. What do you think could be done to kind of, reduce the tension between the individual fighters and how they could look after themselves in retirement? Yeah, this is a heavy duty topic, and I think it's something that a lot of fighters struggle with. Every single time, they reach a point in their career, like a guy like Anthony Perosh, does he deserve? The smart ones have something waiting around for them. They've done the right things to get to this point. They've looked past their career while they were in the midst of their career, but not everyone's in that boat. And sometimes the end comes quicker than you expected. I do think that it would be. Look, there's so many fighters out there, and it's a different sport than the major sports, NFL, NBA, and all those leagues. So, where do you draw the line? Who's benefiting from all this? Is it just people in the UFC? Is it? I don't know. It's not as cut and dry. I just wish that there was just some more unity. And I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is to this question. I don't know how. Like, the UFC has picked some guys that they've helped, and I think that's a very admirable thing. Guys like Matt Hughes and Forrest Griffin, and recently Big Nog, and I think that there are others, by the way, that we don't know about that they've also helped. Sure. When they needed to retire, there are others that like we saw when Sam Stout was on, and he said like he didn't even get a call or anything, and where does he go from here? And he's like 30 years old, so I don't know what the answer is. But do you think there has to be some kind of effort from the fighters' end to make this happen? But what can they do? They're looking in that regard. They're looking out for themselves. They have their own situations. What are they going to do? Donate to these fighters? I don't know. Is there a pot? I don't know. I really don't know. How do you fix this? I think it has to be a combination of the fighters banding together, the organizations banding together. There has to be a bigger movement in mind than Yeah, than the present. Perhaps your tenure is a factor. Perhaps if you have 5 UFC fights, you're subjected to this amount. I don't think it's only UFC though. I think it's MMA as a community. Like if across organizations there may have to be some kind of cooperation. It's a bigger idea and a bigger impact than just like the way the Reebok deal works, where your tenure pays you X amount. I think there has to be a really significant effort from everybody involved in the sport, not just certain organizations and not just certain levels of fighters. It's gonna take a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. By the way, I don't see it happening anytime soon. And again, the Sage Northcutt thing just reminded me that it's never happening, or at least it's not happening anytime soon. I don't know if I'm verbalizing it the right way. And I have no problem with saying that, yeah, maybe it is because he's a kid and because he's so respectful, but it's just, to me, it feels weird to see people, the only people who truly know what he is feeling are the fellow fighters. And to laugh at a kid, and again, I keep saying that, and it's weird for me to say it because I feel like I'm a kid as well, but he's 19 years old. To laugh at him, yeah, you don't want to laugh at Dana, you don't want to laugh at the UFC, fine, but laugh to your friends, laugh to your wife. Laugh to your peers. Just, I don't know. Yeah, it's mean. It's just mean. It's vicious. These are Twitter questions now. Let's run through them quickly, then maybe we can take a quick preview of the upcoming card. Lawler versus Conor McGregor might be a reality sooner rather than later. What do you think about that? Conor fighting for the 170 belt. No, I don't like that. That's a big jump. I mean, for now, he's got the 145. I think juggling between 2 divisions is cool. 3 divisions is asking for a lot. That's too much. Don't you agree? I mean, let's see him at least pull off the other one first, and then. No, I know. I think this guy's assuming that happens. If that doesn't happen, it's definitely not. I don't think they'd let him anyway. This is Artem.
It's incredible.
Yeah, this is the picture.
That's hilarious. Well, if you're only listening to this, we have a picture here of Artem Lobov, a very handsome Artem, by the way.
This is a fine-looking young woman as well.
And he liked it.
Yes, he did.
Yes, with a fine young woman. I wonder. I guess he's probably 12 or so here, as he said. He's wearing a puffy shirt, made famous on the Seinfeld show, and he looks great. He actually, I kind of thought he was joking, but no, he's not.
No, this is the real deal.
Good find.
And our final question.
Oh, that's it?
From Twitter. And then, as I said, we can take a look at the upcoming card. What's your prediction for the Super Bowl?
You know, I used to look forward to the Super Bowl.
Here we go.
I want
Here we go.
I want Cam Newton to win because they've never won before, and he seems to be some kind of polarized. Yes.
Here's an interesting one. How do you feel about the hate directed at Cam Newton?
I think it's ridiculous. Well, I will say, like, I guess his own league makes him, the bad guy, saying that you can't celebrate. What the heck is that? What does he do that's always, like, what is he doing that's so wrong? He's giving kids balls?
No fun league, man.
What is that? That's one of the many reasons why I don't really care about the NFL. I used to count down the days to the Super Bowl. Like, this week was the best. I used to consume all the media, all the talking, all that.
Are you on record right now saying you're not going to watch it?
No. I'll watch it. But, I'll watch it at 6:18. I'm not watching no kickoff special, no blah, blah, blah. It's fun. It always feels big. I'm really starting to develop a disdain for the NFL. And probably, a major reason for that is, my Buffalo Bills not making the playoffs in the 21st century, having the longest playoff drought streak in North American sports. So that probably makes you a little jaded. Like, if they were kicking butt and winning Super Bowls, I'd probably feel better about the whole thing. But there's so much that I dislike about the sport, and the way it's covered and the way we have to hear about it all year round. Like, count me out. But anyway, I'll pick the Panthers. Who are you picking?
I got the Panthers. And if I was a betting man, I don't bet on football. If I was a betting man, I'd probably give up the points. And
what is it?
I think it's like -7 Panthers. I'd probably give that up.
What does that mean, give up the points?
Like, the Panthers are giving 7 points to the Broncos, meaning Broncos score end of game +7. If the Broncos win with those extra 7 points, they win.
No, I understand that.
So I'm saying I would take the Panthers.
Oh, and the
-7.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I don't think the Broncos are that good.
They do seem like,
and I think Cam Newton is kind of built for this.
Are there any fun parlays yet?
I wouldn't know. Haven't looked into it. Don't care about football betting. I feel like the game is kind of.
You're not going to bet on the Super Bowl?
Get out of here.
What?
No way.
Really?
No.
But isn't it fun to do, like, who's gonna, is it gonna be heads or tails?
Who's gonna sing? Are they gonna sing the national anthem for longer than a minute, or
hold
this note for 30 seconds? There's all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, you don't like that?
No.
All right.
It's not my forte.
Okay.
Not into it. I am into betting fights though.
Yes. I've just looked at the odds. Have you looked at them?
No.
I don't understand why. I mean, this is kind of weird. There's only 4 fights.
That is an interesting thing
because this was a pay-per-view.
Only a week out. That is weird. I don't know. I don't have an explanation for that.
Well, let's go with what we got.
Okay.
Zach Makovsky versus Joseph Benavidez.
Joey B.
Yeah. He's a big one. -417, actually -405 and +358. Ovin St. Preux versus Rafael Feijão Cavalcante.
I'm going to go with OSP.
Yeah, another big one. -340, +309. The co-main event of the evening.
Yes.
Jared Rosholt versus Roy Nelson.
Roy Nelson.
This is a smaller one, perhaps surprisingly. -157, +143.
It makes sense to me just because of Rocholt's style. That it's hard to stop, and he's tough. He can take a punch, but it's hard to stop because he's kind of heavy wrestling game. I don't think it's going to be a problem for Roy Nelson though. I think he'll.
You think he wins?
I think he'll win. Yeah.
Johnny Hendricks, Stephen Thompson.
Actually,
look at you.
I was about to say, you know what it is? I feel like Stephen Thompson is kind of
trending up.
Yeah, and I think Hendricks will be a slight favorite. What is it?
Yeah, you're right. Hendricks slight favorite, -211, +186.
That's a little higher than I would think. I would think that Thompson's live there. Yeah, it's a tough fight to call because.
So then you're saying he's a live dog?
He's a live dog.
Do it.
What do you mean, do it?
Bet it.
Oh, great! You're gonna loan me the cash for that?
No. This is. I'm saying you're telling the world.
Me telling the world.
Yes.
I like. Remember, if we flash back to the last show, we were talking about what fight was it? There was a fight where somebody was a huge. Oh no, it wasn't a huge thing. It was a guy asking about a parlay, and he was saying Wilson Hayes. He was saying Dustin Ortiz is part of the parlay, and I think it was Barnett, Ortiz, and somebody else. And I was like, no way, Wilson Hayes is super live, and I wouldn't bet on that one. And Hayes ended up having a really, really good performance.
Mm-hmm.
For this one, I think Wonder Boy might be worth throwing some money down on.
Wow.
Sage Northcutt 2.0 right there.
I don't know about that. He's a lot older than Northcutt. He's also had like 50-something pro kickboxing matchups. Are you just saying because of their boyish charm
and the karate style?
Style.
He's a bad MFer. That guy.
He is.
Wonder Boy.
Okay. True or false? Does Sage Northcutt rebound from this?
Give me like what that means.
Well, like does he actually go on to having an actual career in the UFC?
Not even a question in my mind.
Okay.
The guy is 19 and has all the physical tools to do whatever he kind of wants in this sport. I don't think there's any question that if he puts together a good game plan, gets in a good camp, continues to progress, and doesn't fight short notice fights where he's obviously feeling ill. There's no limit to how good he could possibly be. He's got all the tools, and that's half the battle. There's not a lot of guys who have been blessed with his kind of athletic ability, and started in the UFC at 19 years old. There's just not a lot of guys who are afforded that. So, no question in my mind. Now he can't go back to fights in the main card of a big event. He needs to take a step back, fight somebody a little more his speed, and then build up from there. But no question, at some point he will be a bigger deal in the UFC.
Do you get what I'm saying though, and in particular the Porzingis comparison, because they both are 19 years old. Like you don't see fellow rookies who were drafted after him. I can't think like a Devin Booker or whatever.
Right.
Tweet out like when he gets posterized and like look at this scrub. You know what I mean?
You won't see guys in those sport. To be fair to this comparison, you won't see guys in this sport tweeting as much as or being as active on social media as the other fighters in this sport. In our sport, they just don't have time.
That's a good thing. I'm happy for that.
The NBA is too much of a full-time sport for them to be doing that, and MMA for whatever reason isn't like that.
But you get my point.
I do get your point that they wouldn't necessarily be reveling in it.
Yes.
And I completely agree that that's where the line is crossed. But I still will maintain that him being young is not a reason for him to be able to avoid this.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's playing under the same rules and the same organ. I get that. I just feel like there's a human side to it.
The question to be asked is why? What does it help you to make fun of Sage Northcutt? I think the idea of him is very refreshing, and there were a lot of jokes. At that last fight night event, there was the thing about him not using the internet and all this stuff. That stuff is funny because it's good natured. It doesn't come from a mean place.
Right.
Whereas the people who are celebrating him losing, it comes from a very mean place, and that's the difference there. I think there's a way to have fun with Sage Northcutt's presence in MMA, and there's a way to just be mean, and that's what we saw on Saturday. It's just people being mean.
Yeah, and look, it's a fight game, it's not the feelings game,
and it seems like he's handling it in stride.
Unbelievable.
It didn't seem to affect him too much. He had a great I talked to him for a minute before he came on the show, and he's the same, on camera, off camera. He's an upbeat guy, and I think that there's people who just don't like that.
I will say I was surprised that he agreed to come on. And look at, I mean, yeah, that's he didn't have as much to lose as some of the big name fighters, but to see at 19 years old that he's keeping it in perspective and having, like, I think everyone wanted to see him cry,
right,
and see the negativity come out and just wait. You know, that's part of the, I think, the appeal here, because he's just so squeaky clean and positive all the time. They wanted to see, oh, how's he going to react to this? And the fact that he's not, and he's still pretty much the same, is a pretty cool thing to see.
And I don't think, if let's say he hits another speed bump, I don't think that we'll see quite the same backlash. I think this was a one-time thing, because it was like Ronda Rousey, where it was undefeated, we're building toward this big thing, and then the cards are all shuffled. I don't think the expectation will be as high, or the push will be as pronounced for Sage until he's back where he belongs at that point.
Right.
So I don't think we'll see that again.
There's something about this guy. Like, we've hardly talked about Jimmy Rivera winning his 18th fight in a row. Congratulations to him. Ben Rothwell once again with a huge win, submitting Josh Barnett, something that no one thought could be done. And now one step closer to that title shot. And again, Anthony Rumble Johnson with another dominant win. He is, without a doubt, the number one contender in the UFC's light heavyweight division. All right, we're done. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, here we go. Okay, you can hit my music. Again, if you're listening to this afterwards, stream stuff doesn't really matter, but if you are trying to fight through this entire show, I appreciate your patience and your loyalty. It means a lot. What an interesting day. Benson Henderson, now the newest member of the Bellator MMA roster. Is this the beginning of that snowball effect? It's going to be a lot of fun covering this. It's a very interesting time in the world of mixed martial arts. Congratulations to him on his new deal, and appreciate him coming on, especially with the issues. Appreciate him coming on. I am going to stick to that story. He definitely broke our show. He broke our stream. He broke the internet. He's that big of a deal. Anyhow, thank you very much to Dave Meltzer, and best wishes to our man, Bret the Hitman Hart. Hope everything goes well for him. A legend in his own right, and my favorite pro wrestler. So he's had a tough run. I hope he gets well soon. Thank you very much to Fabricio Werdum for coming on and explaining his situation. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you very much to Artem Lobov. Good luck to him this Saturday. UFC Fight Night 82. It airs on Fox Sports 1. His fight airs on Fight Pass alongside Mickey Gall versus Mike Jansen, but the entire card is on Fox Sports 1 against, he's fighting Alex White. 205, thank you very much. Benson Henderson, he stopped by. Again, congratulations. Scott Coker, thank you very much to him. And congratulations on the deal. Appreciate Stage Northcutt very much. Thank you for stopping by. And thank you very much to Anthony Perosh. Happy trails. If you missed anything, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, all that good stuff and more. See you next week. Until then, say peace. I'm out of here.